Welcome to the 4th annual October special on the Keep Up podcast.
I decided to go with Donnie there from Wild Thornberries.
Oh, wow.
You know, that's
perfect.
That's what I'm dressed up as this year.
Are you? Right now?
Always.
All right.
Dude, the hat.
Always.
You don't remember the Donnie hat?
I don't. Doesn't he definitely not wear a hat
Dude,
at all?
don't look at him.
Don't look at him. Don't worry about it.
So check him out.
Dude, it's the 4th October special.
The Hocktober.
The Hocktober special.
Hocktober special.
We call October Hocktober.
Hocktober.
Because of Halloween.
And Hawkins.
And it definitely wasn't just a verbal typo
No, not at all.
that I'm making up a whole backstory for.
I'm glad we've been able to do this 4 years in a row.
Me too.
You know,
why is this the easiest thing for us to be consistent with?
Because we get excited about specials.
We do.
And then we do this one, and then we go to bed.
And then we go night.
We go nights.
If this is your first special, welcome to a special on the Keep Up. You know, here it is.
Here it is. We're here.
I don't remember if I do this in all the specials, but welcome to the Keep Up podcast, where I'm Brett and Tim is Tim.
That's me.
And we talk about all the things we consume, be it media or food. But on the specials,
Get out of here, remote.
the stuff we talk about is only fueled by listeners and viewers. That's you.
Viewers like you.
And
Thank you.
Nothing of our own decision.
Right.
Except, deciding out of the list that you guys provided us with what we're going to talk
Right.
about.
We pick the things, but you guys provide the things.
Right.
And I think my favorite aspect of it is there's a lot of things that I would never think to look at or never heard of. So it's cool. And I mean, these suggestions you guys can do anytime, not just for the special.
That's true.
Because we're always looking for new things.
Always.
Because, we already don't have a gigantic pile of things we need to keep up with.
No.
So let's throw more things on it.
Right. I can't think of a single pile of books that I haven't read yet.
Yeah. I mean, we're caught up.
Yeah, I can't-
We're actually going to change the name to the Caught Up Podcast.
To nothing left to watch or play or read. That's
we
the
have
full
finished.
title. Yeah.
I wonder who on this planet is the closest to consuming the most amount of media.
Interesting.
Like, is there, what would be the metric to judge that? I would say we're pretty high up,
yeah, cumulatively, we've probably consumed a lot of things.
but probably not more than like other people.
You don't think?
I don't know.
Wouldn't it be weird because we've just been casually consuming like a wide breadth of entertainment for a long time? Wouldn't it be weird to find out like, oh, collectively, we've actually no, because I think of someone like Kojima who just watches movies like religiously, like that's what he does.
Who has like such a wide, but I would say our variety helps because
That's true.
We dip into like all things.
Yeah.
Not to say no one else does,
Right.
but I don't know. Are we just like, we're probably above average when it comes to like just consumption in general.
Probably.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's just interesting to think about.
It is interesting to think
But we're
about.
not here to create new ideas.
Right.
We're here to continue them. Old ideas.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going to try to break that down later and figure out what it means. For anyone who does not know, the way you can interact with us is you can find us on Instagram at the Keep Up Podcast. You can find us on TikTok at the Keep Up. That's where a lot of people left their comments and suggestions. They
TikTok?
messaged us. Yeah, some people did.
But you said a lot.
Well, I mentioned Instagram and TikTok.
Gotcha.
So those two together
Equals where we are
is
now.
where a lot of people
Gotcha.
left there.
I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Can I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. It's the Halloween special.
Who is this? Oh no, is this your?
This is my Halloween voice.
Wait a second.
Crispy. Brought to you by the crisp, cool sound of a Coca-Cola.
It's not, and you can't hear it.
No. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. So yeah, you can find us there, and then you can find us on YouTube at the Keep Up. Just look for the colorful running man.
Which you, round of applause for Brett.
me? You're talking to me?
Yeah, you. You have been hard at work Bringing that dead YouTube channel back to life.
Slowly resuscitating it.
You know, just putting little clips. Well, not even little clips, like full segments of the podcast.
Yeah.
Usually the intros, but some other things get thrown in there.
Yep, starting to.
So thank you. Thank you.
Sure, man. Yeah.
I remember long ago.
Long ago.
We were just making lots of videos.
Yeah, many moons
And
ago.
here we are now.
Here we are.
Stepping in.
I think we're going to have this whole special on YouTube.
Good.
So if you're watching it,
Thank you.
I hope it's all of it, but maybe it's a segment. And yeah, also thank you. But if you're listening, you're definitely going to get the whole episode.
Right.
You know, that's a guarantee.
Guaranteed.
Every time you listen to an episode of the podcast, it's the whole episode.
And I hear if you give a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, that you get another episode.
Yes.
You get the following week.
Right.
Next Friday. Guaranteed.
Weekly.
Unless something happens. Then not
Yes.
guaranteed.
Right.
But it's going to happen.
Right.
Eventually.
Guaranteed the intention is that you get a new episode the following week.
Right.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, I guess let's get into the special. Thank you to everyone who left us recommendations and comments and stories. I'm really excited about our reflection segment. We have some really awesome movies to talk about, a podcast, some music. It's going to be great. And I'll say it, we didn't get to every recommendation.
We never do.
We never do. And it gets, part of it is like, I don't want to be begrudgingly watching all of the recommendations. I want to be able to get into it.
Yeah.
Although you watched 4 movies last night?
Don't remind me.
Now this is your fault.
I will say it's our fault.
Why is it our fault?
We constructed the list like Sunday night.
Why couldn't you have watched it Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday?
Sunday I do Sonic Sunday.
Okay, until when?
Well, it was till 2:30 a.m.
All right. Also your fault.
No, because it was a good stream.
Okay,
playing
good,
Persona, it was a good time.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's your fault.
And, and then Monday,
Yeah.
I had to get a lot of things set up and cleaned up. It was a busy day,
Right.
And then stream, and then
Till when?
Till that one was till 10:30.
Yeah, could have watched a movie. Keep going.
I did watch a movie.
Okay.
I watched a movie and a show.
Oh.
So, but on average, people don't watch 3 movies a day unless
No,
they're
that's true.
you and you're on vacation.
I am on vacation.
And then you watch 30 movies.
Yeah.
Let's just say we had 2 days to consume all this
Pretty
content.
much. Why do we always do that to ourselves?
Well, we the problem with this one was we did the promo a week after when we were gonna film it.
Oh, that's
because
right.
we took that
That's
week
right,
off,
yeah.
and then the promo didn't even come out till the following Friday.
Probably, yeah.
So it's like the timeline was a little rough, but we just could have done it better. And I should have watched 2 movies. I should have watched a movie Sunday night.
Tim, I think you did everything perfectly.
Hey, I watched,
And we also, we carved pumpkins Sunday night.
Yeah.
So that pushed everything later.
dude. See,
Guys,
Like-
you know what? We did everything perfectly.
Yeah.
Your recommendations made this show what it is, and here's hoping it's a good one.
here we go.
Let's go into reflections.
Please, a moment to reflect.
Tim and I just both heard a grumbly stomach noise, but neither of us felt anything.
I would admit it.
So we don't know where it came from. What?
I thought you had like skin going off your face. It was just your earring.
Skin coming off my
I thought it was just like
face.
skin dangling.
I thought your entire face was peeling off, but it's just your earring.
It's just your earring.
Oh man. So I don't know whose stomach is rumbling. It's very creepy in here.
I'm not hungry.
I don't feel hungry either. There could be maybe there's another creature in here whose stomach we're hearing.
Good old Stablieben.
Stablieben?
Stablieben.
Good old Stablieben.
Stablieben.
Here in Reflections, there are 2 things we talk about. The first one doesn't matter because it's not about us this week.
Right.
The second one matters a lot
It's important.
because it's, we talk about your feedback and questions. Sometimes we do a poll. We didn't, but sometimes we do.
Sometimes.
But, it's us talking to and about you.
Right.
Maybe the whole podcast is us talking to you, but...
That's the idea.
Right.
But it could be like us together.
You and me.
Well, yeah, you and me, but like they're the listeners out there.
Them too.
They're in the room with us.
Yeah. You
like,
too.
Like ghosts.
Like ghosts?
You like ghosts.
Spooky.
Ooh.
Oh,
Scary,
appropriate.
Scary skeletons.
Speaking of spooky, scary skeletons,
Yes.
it's a weird transition. Our friend Sarah,
Is she a skeleton?
I mean...
Yeah, we're all skeletons technically.
Oh, yeah.
Skeletons with coats on.
Right.
Skin coats.
Isn't it weird when people are like offended by skulls and like skeletons and like spooky stuff that is just anatomy?
Yes.
That's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like people, like if it's like a spooky painting of like a skeleton,
It's like that's just,
someone's like, "Oh, that's gruesome."
but that's the human body.
It's just
Natural.
It's me.
Yeah.
The other
It's me.
The other day, I was thinking about how I want like a replica of my own skull.
Can that be done?
I don't think so.
While you're alive?
You could get an X-ray,
Yeah.
right, and have someone maybe. But wouldn't that be like a weird? Like if I had like a decoration, and like, what's the skull? I'm like, that's literally what my skull looks like.
That is the size of it.
Isn't that kind of cool?
That is pretty cool.
Like it's weird,
yeah, it is weird.
but it's like,
But like, yeah, I get the idea.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I want a replica hand
Your hand,
so that I can high five myself all the time.
you'll know it's you because of your curved pinky.
That's true. My pinkies.
so funny. All right, so our first. Is it a question? No, it's a story.
Story.
I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah, our friend Sarah, who you can find at Forged in Film blog on Instagram. She recently started her blog. I'm like an old time. She recently started a blog on film, and you can check that out again at Forged in Film blog on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So she told me when we posted our promotion video.
Yes.
She sent me a message telling me how her mom they would vacation up in Maine, and her mom would repurpose Stephen King movies and stories. Actually, I think she was a reader of the stories. Let's say stories of the books.
Yes.
It covers all. Stephen King.
Just Stephen King. She read Stephen King.
She read Stephen King. Stories. And she would repurpose them to Sarah when she was like 7.
In what way?
Like she would just tell stories. So,
I see. So
but-
not saying they were from Stephen King.
you're right.
Just like you're being told like a scary story or a campfire story
Right.
or whatever. Yeah.
And so I'm going to read exactly what Sarah said. She said, my mom was a huge Stephen King fan, and when we'd vacation in Maine, we'd sit around the campfire, and she would tell us watered down Stephen King stories. This is when I was like 7. I remember this because at one point when I was reading Pet Sematary, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I know this story. It's probably why I couldn't finish it. So I thought that was
That's really cool.
Right. So
Yeah.
I responded and I was like, that is so cool. And she was like, maybe it's cool, maybe it's disturbing. And I was like, I could definitely see like but yeah, in concept, to me, that's like the coolest thing.
Yeah, I mean, because that's like watching a show and telling your kids a story about the show, like Avatar, and then telling the story of Avatar
Right.
to your kids, like because that's what everything is. It's just new ways to tell stories,
Right.
That's really cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
I was like,
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I
Did you
know.
ever tell your kids a story that like was based off of something else, as far as not being a story you tell your kids? I guess. Because I've heard of parents like telling their kids
like a legend.
yeah,
kind of thing.
but it's like the story of like.
Mary Crumbus.
Yeah, something like not even fake, but it's something that we know in real life to be like a real thing, but they tell it in a scary story format.
Oh yeah, no, not really. I've explained. This is like the most recent thing I can think of is I watched Hellraiser, and I don't know how it came up, but Jazz asked me like what movie I was watching, or I don't know how it came up. He's 9 for anyone who doesn't know, so like I'm not about to explain to him
Hellraiser.
but I kind of did. I was like, how can I explain to him what's happening in this movie and what it's about? Oh, you know what it was? We were listening to Ice Nine Kills, and he was asking me what the lyrics were. And because there's a couple songs by Ice Nine Kills that he absolutely loves, and he's super into lyrics lately. And he was like, what are they saying? And out of context, it's like the lyrics are like really brutal and dark.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't like, if they ask a question, I don't like to overlook it or ignore it. So I was like, all right, here's what he's saying.
Here's what's going on.
Yeah, it's something like "All hail the priests of hell" or something. And I was
God.
like, so here's what he's saying. Here's what the movie's about in a way, and I explained it in a way of like the whole like desire for power and how that impacts a person and the results of that and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it kind of felt like I was telling this like spooky.
Story.
And at the end of it, he was like, cool, what's for dinner? Like he was barely listening to
Just right now, you're like, and the Cenobites, and don't forget about it.
Now in the remake, here's what but yeah, I can't think of anything that I've told as like a story other than them asking me about like a movie or something.
Yeah.
So I have to tell it in a way.
That is not.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Simi loves Ghostface. Like she's seen it on merch and stuff. So she was asking me about like what Scream is.
Yeah.
So I was explaining it to her and, in a way that's
Not the movie.
relatively acceptable for kids. Yeah.
She's getting close to the age though where you can start putting on like R-rated movies and be like, good luck.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes.
Right,
I don't
enjoy.
even watch them with her. I just lock her in a room and I'm like, let me know.
Here you go. This is what we did.
Right.
Here we
exactly.
go.
This is what my mom did. Look how I turned out.
The only thing I can think of as a kid, I don't know who told me this, and it could have just been my brain.
Yeah.
But I always thought, and I think I said it on the podcast, but I always thought George Washington was a caveman. I don't know. Someone told me at some point, or I just thought he was a caveman. But there's this like water tower we used to drive by, and someone said George Washington climbed it.
Okay.
So I always imagined him as a caveman climbing the water tower.
You've 100% told me this story.
Yeah.
It makes less sense every time I hear it.
It doesn't make any sense because clearly that water tower was made in like the 60s. Like,
So someone told you George Washington climbed it?
yeah,
And why do you think he's a caveman?
I don't know.
That's just who you picture climbing things?
Yeah.
Climbing so primitive.
I don't know, but it's just one of those things where like that and like the toilet monster.
Sure.
You know, like if you, I don't even know why, but it would just come and get you in the toilet if you like sit on it for too long or something. I always imagine being like a snake.
100%. Well, isn't there a movie like
Toilet snake?
No, it's not called that, but there's like a significant scene. It might even be a Stephen King movie where like something comes out of the toilet and like attacks you that way.
Creepshow, maybe?
No. It's something.
I don't know.
Sarah's freaking out right now because she definitely knows what it is.
And I bet a lot of other people do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the only thing I could think of like that I was told.
A very like, hang on a second. Oh, let me.
You gave me the
Nope.
bad wire.
Everything's good.
Okay.
I have a very genuine campfire story about a campfire story. When I was a kid, my grandmother had in her backyard she had a pond, and then she had like a legit fire pit. It was dope. So when I was at my dad's for the weekend, we would go there, light up a fire, chill out there like all night, whatever. Everything you do around a campfire would happen there. Like he would play guitar, we would tell stories, roast marshmallows, whatever. So one night, I'll never forget this, dude. The pond was like overgrown with like the cat's tails or whatever those things are called.
Yeah,
like super tall grass, and like you couldn't really see the pond. And the campfire was probably like 10 feet away from the pond. And I remember someone started telling a story, and I don't know who, because in my mind it's like my dad telling the story, but maybe it was my uncle or something. I would have been pretty little. And while whoever was telling the story was telling it, I'm like super honed in on them. My dad like snuck away and put on, I forget what they're called, but like the rubber pants that you can like walk through water in.
Yeah.
Went around the back of the pond, walked through the pond so that it's pitch dark out, by the way.
Yeah.
And while they're telling the story, like stops and it's loud. Like, and I'm used to hearing frogs and stuff, but I'm like looking and you hear like shh, shh, like in the water.
No.
And I didn't even realize my dad was gone. I was like, what is happening over there? So then they start telling the story again. Classic buildup.
Yeah.
They stop. My dad's going through the grass, like pushing all the cat's tails and stuff. And I'm like, what is that? And he comes running out, and I'm like, ah! Like literally the scariest moment ever.
Dude.
Isn't that
Where'd you
wild?
go?
I died. I'm dead. I died.
You just like,
I don't think I got up. I think I probably, if I had a video of it,
Yeah.
I probably was like curled up in a ball.
Dude, that's a
like,
great memory.
Is that
though.
wild?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, they went all out.
Really? To go through like the pond and everything?
Yeah. I wonder if like my grandmother would remember. Because I've never thought to ask, like, what did you guys plan that?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
how?
must have.
I mean, obviously to a degree, but
Yeah.
I'm like, when did you, like, were you thinking about that all weekend?
Man,
Like,
that's awesome.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's like a real life campfire story. It's good stuff.
You experienced it.
I did.
Yeah,
it was real.
That's the joy of like kids and cousins and stuff like that. Is like you get scared terribly as a kid, and then later in life you can do the same scares to other people.
Let's scare my kids.
It's the joy of life.
Yeah, it's the joy of life.
The joy of life.
I was never told any Stephen King stories, though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's pretty
I
cool.
think that's fun.
I agree. That's very fun. What's our next thing?
Our next thing.
It's facing me. I could have looked. But
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
pull some weight around here, Tim.
So, Andy the Mandy
Yes.
came flying in with this hot, burning question.
Oh, it is fiery.
What's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Yeah.
Not
the goriest.
Goriest.
Right.
Wow,
I do.
you skipped ahead.
Sorry. I remember he specified.
Right.
He was like, if you say the goriest, I swear.
So, it's funny because I don't usually associate gore with horror. Like, I do, but like, my goriest movie is definitely not my scariest movie.
No. Right. Yeah.
Like they don't really go like
Yeah.
hand in hand to me.
Thinking
but-
of that recently, like there are definitely some gory movies that make me feel like more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's not really.
I never get scared by it.
Yeah. Right.
But maybe we're just desensitized.
But your mind could go there if you're like the.
Well, some people see gore and they like pass out. They
Right.
just, can't handle it, which is understandable because it's gross.
It's pretty gross. Yeah. It can be
But
gross.
yeah, so for when I think of scary, I think of the ones that leave the biggest impression with
sure.
me. So as far as like the scariest movie I've ever seen, The Grudge has left a long-standing impression
yeah.
on me. And this is the like 2003 American one.
Yeah.
Just because I was at the prime age where I was old enough to be watching these movies, and that was my first exposure to like Japanese style horror.
Yes.
Again, even though it's the American version,
Yep.
it still follows the same like ideas of like creepy long-haired demons and
Yeah.
little boys like saying random cat noises.
Yeah.
It's just a type of horror that I
Wow.
up until that point have not seen.
Dude. I didn't know what mine was until you just said that. The Ring got me.
Yeah, like these Japanese style horror movies
Yeah.
had like a big resurgence because you had that, and Shudder always scares me because of the ending specifically. Do you remember Shudder?
What's Shudder?
That's again another Japanese horror movie, again made Americanized.
Oh, that one I've never seen.
That one's really, really good.
Okay.
At least my memory of where the story ends up
Yeah.
is like the creepiest. You're like, oh.
Okay.
So yeah, generally those, The Ring for sure.
Yeah, that because I'll never, we've talked about it before, but that scene where the closet opens up,
Yep.
it was editing like I think I hadn't really seen prior to that, where when they showed you the clips of the VHS tape,
Yep.
and those quick cuts to many different scenes, it's
then
just really unsettling.
You feel like you're watching the Ring tape yourself, and you're gonna die in 7 days, and you're like,
Right.
I'm not part of this,
Right? Yeah.
yeah. So The Grudge definitely like left its impression.
Yeah.
Funny enough, Paranormal Activity 3,
Sure.
for whatever reason, seeing that in theaters like scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. I forgot about those. The first one got me pretty good.
Yeah, the
I
first
was
one-
unsettled.
The first one just had like so many, because like a lot of things is all your imagination. You'll hear screaming off screen, and you're like, "What the hell's going
filling
on?"
it all in,
yeah,
yeah.
so I think that imagination aspect really helped.
Yeah.
And I guess in most recent years, Hereditary was definitely one that like
Yeah.
freaking.
I was scared at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
I was afraid.
That was one where I was like, I need all the lights on. I'm
Yeah.
going to bed with my nightlight, my
Oh,
blankie.
dude, yeah.
Like it's all up here. It's all like the ones that make your brain like
Yeah.
do things you don't think you can do.
Right. And in Hereditary, some of it's not up here. Some of it's right in front of you. That's true. Like, dude, the living room scene
Oh,
near the
God,
end. That's,
yeah.
I mean, and the treehouse scene obviously goes
Yeah.
without saying, but that movie,
Yeah, the
that
one-
was a scary movie.
The one part that always sticks out to me is when she's like running around the house and it's pitch black and she's like up in the corner.
Yes,
And
yes.
your eyes, like it stays on it for a long time and your eyes begin to adjust and you're like, holy crap, she's up there.
Yes.
Like it is such a cool trick, a
Yeah.
cool like just thing to like you have to know how cameras work, you have to know how eyes work. Like leaving it on just long enough for your eyes to adjust is
Yeah.
such a clever idea.
Right. It is.
So yeah, that's at least there's probably more. There's another question later on that I will talk about another horror, 2 horror movies that like
Okay.
really left an impact on me. But yeah, that I would say those are like my main ones.
Yeah, those are really good picks. I would say, along with like that, when I was younger, like the Blair Witch Project really messed with me. That was the first. That kind of brought found footage to the mainstream, and that really messed with my brain. Like I was so into that, watching that in the theater. That big was crazy. Never having seen that film style, that really stuck with me. And the other one that I always think about is not The Haunting of Hill House. House on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill,
The
yeah.
remake. I actually still have never seen the original one with Vincent Price, but the remake messed with me again because there were some tropes that I've seen since, but at the time had never seen anything like it. There are those really jittery, quick, like fast moving moments with characters like in a camera, like their head bends and then they go up and then their arms flail out and then they're like standing still, but it all happens within a second.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. And then there's one moment I'll never forget where a character lifts up a camera. I think she's a reporter or she's just documenting it. And when she lifts up the camera in this old, like abandoned hospital room, she sees only through the camera these 4 doctors working on a patient, puts the camera down, they're not there, lifts it back up, they're there, down, they're not, up, and then they all look at her. Bro, I literally just got chills. That scene.
It's you describing it. I absolutely remember it.
So scary. And then there's the scene in like I forget what they call it, but there's like a tank that they put people in who they thought it would like cure them if they had some sort of like, if they were like crazy patients or something like that, quote unquote. And that whole sequence is like this crazy Silent Hill-esque, otherworldly Guillermo del Toro. Like every monster, there's one, I'll never forget the monster screaming and it looks like a woman with hair in front of her face, but then her hair goes back and her face is only a mouth.
Oh my God.
And I just remember being like, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's
too much.
It's too much. So that's one I haven't revisited in a while, but I'll never forget that. Like you said, that left a mark on me. I was like,
so it seems like our scariest movies are things we just haven't experienced before.
Yeah.
Like they do not so much, but then like, I guess we get used to it. Like the first time you see it, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But the more you see it, and maybe that's why like slasher films don't have as much of an impact because there's a lot of them maybe. But
the other thing too is like, I don't really factor in jump scares as much unless that plays into, I mean, I don't know.
I know The Grudge definitely has some jump scares.
It does. Yeah, it's not that they don't impact it, but like I feel like a slasher's scares.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are talking about how the new Halloween movie like wasn't scary. But I don't really know what people expect.
Right, that's the thing. And
from a slasher movie. I'm not saying they're not scary.
Yeah.
But they're not like Hereditary is ominous and the whole mood of that movie is very scary.
Yeah.
Or even like because it's fresh in my mind lately, but like Silent Hill, the first Silent Hill movie, like when you're in Silent Hill, everything there is scary.
Yes.
It's not just jump scares. It's like things you don't want to look at and everything's uncomfortable. In a slasher, it's like just a normal world. And then a guy shows up every now and then.
Starts killing people.
And it's like all jump scares.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. And I like slashers. I'm not saying I don't. But when people are like, it wasn't even scary. I'm like, I don't like.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider. I mean, it falls in the horror movie genre
100%,
for sure.
yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't think like when I think of the new Halloween trilogy, they have scary moments.
Yeah.
Like jump scares.
I guess it's tension. And
Yeah. I don't know, but it differs from person to person. You know, one man's scary as another man's comedy, I guess.
Yeah, that can be. Did I interrupt your thought about you were saying it's like things that are new to us?
No, I mean, if I had to go anywhere important, I would have punched you.
I would have done it.
I would have done it. But yeah, so I think that answers the question pretty well, I hope.
Oh, Paranormal Activity was scary.
Yeah, for some reason, the third one in particular just had a lot of like creepy scenes that sketched me out. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them did.
It's so much anticipation. Though I guess those are almost jump scares too. But
building up to when anything happens.
Anytime it's quiet. Because I feel like the Paranormal Activity movies are basically a cross between the obviously supernatural, but like supernatural, like the way that The Conjuring is and stuff like that, and found footage to me.
Yeah.
And it's like every time you just see someone walk past a doorway and the camera's just sitting there, you know something's about to happen, but you're like, oh
yeah. It's like I don't want it. I want to deal with this.
The Visit was pretty scary.
Yeah, The Visit was that one we talk about all the time because it was such a good movie.
That one was pretty scary.
Because conceptually, like, it spoils it, so maybe I shouldn't say, but like what happens, the twist in that movie, let's say, that is like real and terrifying, and like, you know, the best part of that movie is we start to like, you know, get used to the kids. Like we start to really like the kids because they have great personality, and we're like, man, I love just watching these kids have fun. And then scary things start happening. You're like, get out of there,
yeah, dude,
run.
Oh man. And there are some scenes in that I think are almost, I don't know if, I'm sure some people might get mad at me for comparing that to Hereditary, but Maybe not. I don't know why I think the worst of people.
Yeah,
I'm
why-
just, I get nervous.
Dude,
I think maybe I'm not
This
gonna meet the standards of the horror community.
this is our podcast. We can talk about whatever we want.
Yeah, that's right. There are some scenes in The Visit that I feel like the hallway scene, for example, in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That has the same tone to me as like the living room scenes in Hereditary. Where
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
can see that.
everything here is wrong. Like it's so uncomfortable. That was one that's not that long ago that was pretty scary.
Yeah.
You know?
And of course, I mean, like Conjuring, like the recent ones, there's definitely
Yeah.
a lot of things to talk about there. But
Sinister's pretty scary.
yeah.
But the ones that scared me?
Yeah.
That and Pumpkinhead when I was like 7.
Freaking Pumpkinhead.
Dude, I was scared. Not anymore, though.
He's scary. His design's scary.
Oh, yeah. Greatest monster of all time.
Of all time?
Andy, thank you for that. It's a great question.
Yes, Andy the Mandy. You are the Mandy.
Indeed, the one and only.
So, to go into our next, question that I was alluring to with another scary movie
sure,
that
yeah,
scared
yeah.
me as a kid.
Say alluring to?
Alluring? Is that the word?
I think it's alluding.
Alluding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shut up, Brett.
The question may be alluring,
It could be.
but you were alluding to the alluring question.
right. I was.
Accoutrement.
Shut up. So, our friend Christy Chu,
Christy Chu!
27.
27! Is
She asked the question.
that an age or was she born in 1927?
Yes.
Those are the only two options.
Those are the only two, and I'm going to say yes to both.
100%.
So she asked us, what scared you as kids? What started it? Does it still scare you? And rundown of costumes as kids.
I would say Paranormal Activity.
Yeah. Was
The
your
Blair
costume.
Witch Project.
Gotcha. That what? In what order?
I don't know. What scared us as kids?
So while you think about yours,
Yeah, what do you got?
I can talk about dolls. That's my fear of dolls
Yes.
has spawned from the Child's Play movies.
Oh, right.
As a kid, I don't know how I watched them. I don't know why I watched them. I don't know when.
Yeah.
But at some point in my youth, I witnessed Chucky.
Yeah.
And I think Chucky is the scariest freaking little demon around.
He's unsettling.
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
He's got a TV show. I can't go 5 minutes without seeing Chucky somewhere.
No.
He's got ads. He's got TikToks. He's got Twitter. This doll has
out there.
haunted me.
Yeah.
So
He's
yeah,
very active on social media.
He really is.
Because he's the Deadpool of horror icons.
He is. He is breaking the fourth wall. He's all over the place, freaking guy. So yeah, Chucky, and another movie called Dolly Dearest.
Yeah.
And that left a major impression on my overall fear of dolls. And revisiting Dolly Dearest, I did, a couple years ago at this
Okay.
point. The movie's, pretty goofy.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially it's just another like killer doll story. But what they did to this doll, like the way they contorted the face, the way they made it look like a 50-year-old man who's been smoking cigars his whole life, and like when the doll becomes demonic, it's just like so unnatural and unsettling.
Yeah, I hate
and when
that.
it talks and when it moves, and like these things are not supposed to happen. So being surrounded by dolls, because I shared a room with our sister.
Oh, yeah. She had so many dolls.
So many dolls. So, at various points in our lives, we shared rooms, and because of that, there were dolls all over the place.
Yeah, many of them.
So I have just always had this. It's not like a crippling fear. Like if I see a doll, I don't pause or anything. But when I see it, I always get like goosebumps because
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't like these.
I don't like that,
I think they're spooky.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, what scared you as kids?
Yeah.
Mine would be dolls.
Dolls.
The Chucky movies. That's what started it.
Mm-hmm.
And does it still scare me to like a very light degree?
Sure.
Like again, it doesn't stop me from living my life or anything.
Right.
But yeah, that would be like I have listed it before. My top 3 fears: dolls, bees/hornets. What?
All right, we're good.
Okay.
There was a buzzing, but I fixed it.
Oh God, what's it? The hornets?
Yeah, that was weird, actually. Right when you said it, it was like...
Yeah. And darkness. Darkness freaks me out.
Oh, okay.
But only because I don't know what's in there.
Yes, that's fair.
But I don't again, I'll walk through a dark room and be like, where's the light?
Yeah.
It's just like a creepy concept.
That is a creepy concept. Yeah, I agree. I don't feel like people are scared of the dark. They're
Yeah.
scared of like what they can't see.
Exactly.
You just don't know.
Yeah. The unknown.
Am I still...
Is there buzzing? Is it me or you?
It's me. But it's gone now and
Okay.
everything's good. The dark actually just reminded me, and it's in a couple different forms. I should have a fear of clowns because of my jester dream that I had. Remember? I think I've told you about that. No?
Remind me.
Okay, so I had a dream. Have you ever had a dream? I know I've told this on a podcast past, but here's a quick refresher. One of the most vivid dreams I've ever had. Like, this must have been, I was definitely younger than 10 years old, and I can remember it like almost beat for beat, at least the important parts that scared me so much I wanted to be dead. But I was in a wide open room, and it feels old. Like, the room feels like almost an old set of like a TV show, like a late 80s, early 90s TV show.
Okay.
But there's nothing in it. It's just a wide open room. And the walls are lined with benches, like that come out of the walls. So that's where you sit in that big empty room. And I'm sitting in there with our family, and you wouldn't even have been born yet, actually, when I had this dream. So it was mom, uncle, I think Nana and Papa were there. I don't remember if my dad was there or not. But I'm just sitting in there, and they're all sitting still, like no emotion, just sitting there.
freaky.
And I'm fully aware of, like, it was almost like I woke up in this room and I'm sitting on the bench. And I remember being short enough because I was young enough that, like, I don't even know if my feet were touching the ground. I was like holding on to the bench with my hands, and I'm looking around and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I lean over and I look down at the line of them, and they're just sitting there completely still, no emotion. And I'm like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, there's like a door on the left and a door on the right wall, like across from us.
Yeah.
And the door on the left opens up, and this terrifying jester creature comes running out. Not a creature, it's just a guy.
Yeah.
But he's, you know, your standard, like, I think there's something similar in Are You Afraid of the Dark, actually, the original ones, where he comes out and he's got like the shoes with the pom-poms or bells on them,
Yep.
the jester hat, and he just, think of a creepy jester, and he comes out and he's like, like, just like that. And he looks at me, and I stand up, and he comes running at me, and he's literally chasing me around, and I'm panicking,
Yeah.
freaking out. No one in the family budges or makes like
They're
no
just there to
emotion. They're
watch
just
it.
there watching.
That makes it so much scarier.
And I'm like, what is happening right now? And I eventually woke up.
But it's stayed with you
Yeah.
your whole life.
That being said, I don't really have a fear of clowns. So it's not
that for nothing.
It's not that. The biggest things I can think of that scare me is, like, the dark is scary. I remember as a kid, like, you definitely have that fear of, like, oh, I'm not supposed to be in complete darkness. And deep, deep water is scary to me. Like, if I were in the middle of the ocean, like, stranded, I think I would probably pass out before anything ate me. Like, I think I would just be so...
Pass away,
I think
not even out.
Yeah, no, I think I'd panic. Like,
Yeah.
I might not pass out, but I would definitely be panicky. The idea of, like, just the inability to, like, touch what's below me or know what's below me, which
Yeah.
I guess is an extension of fear of the dark.
Kind of.
The dark that still scares me is the woods at night.
Okay.
If I'm in the, remember we filmed that video in the woods?
Yeah.
How scary was that walking out in the woods?
You know, it's funny. It doesn't scare me too much, and I don't know why.
I get panicky.
It's creepy, but like, I don't know. I think the worst thing out there would be like animals.
Sure.
I'm not like afraid of like killers or crazy people out there.
yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. There's something like I've done it a couple times at this point because remember when I climbed the tallest mountain in Vermont or Connecticut?
yeah.
Climbing down, it was pitch black.
And the sun went down before you got out.
Yeah, we got to the top and the sun started going down. So as we were climbing down, it was pitch black. And this is when you hear about people who like fell and I wouldn't have been found. That would have
Right.
been it. So I don't know. It's just like it's scary because like you're in danger if you're in the woods at night. But I don't know. It doesn't like creep me out.
It's weird. I can like push through it, but my brain definitely starts going places if I'm in the woods.
Do you think that's like a Blair Witch thing that influenced
Maybe.
that fear? We should be afraid to be in the woods at night.
Yeah, because I mean that, or maybe that's part of why it was so scary to me. Because I would have been 11 or 12 when that came out. But I can't think of anything I'm like significantly afraid of.
But yeah, you have
that's
like I would say more realistic fears.
Yeah, I guess
Of the ocean, of the woods at night. Like,
Yeah.
those are things that are scary.
Yeah, those
and
are the
real.
things that make me like a little panicky. Animals should scare me more than they do.
Yeah.
I just
We
want
just-
to. I want to hug bears. And
Yeah,
stuff.
like we haven't had an experience with any wild creatures. Like
No.
you know where I live currently, and you have at some point in your life.
Yes.
We hear like random howlings and things in the woods, but again, everything seems to run away from us.
Right.
Like if I go out in the woods, I'll hear like scattering or something like them running off. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I'm not like I'm aware that if there's some kind of creature, I'll have to run.
yeah, right. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that I'm like. What scares me, Tim?
I don't know.
What scares me?
More like mental stuff. being not accepted by the community.
Yeah, I guess that's scary. What started that as a kid? Just like being the chubby kid in elementary school. I guess it's a byproduct of that.
We're getting dark.
Man, that's a good question, though.
It is.
Yeah, dark woods, man.
Dark
What's
woods?
out? There's nothing in the dark woods but witches
sounds like
and curses.
A movie or a game?
The dark woods.
Dark Woods.
Dark woods? Is dark woods not?
Dear Man of Darkwood.
What?
Dear Man of Darkwood.
What are you saying?
Dear Man of Darkwood.
Is that are you saying one word?
Dear Man of Darkwood.
Oh.
Isn't he a skater?
I don't know.
I can look this up now.
I thought you knew what you were talking about.
Dear Man. No, not Dead Man. And the other question was costumes.
Oh, costumes as kids.
Yeah.
So if you come to mind, what'd you find?
Dear Man of Darkwoods. He's a skater, I guess. That's
Like
it.
skateboarder?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He, I think he was either in a Tony Hawk game or the game Skate.
Oh,
Anyways,
he looks spooky.
yeah, he's just a dude.
That picture, anyways. He's just a man.
He's just a man.
So
So costumes.
yeah, if you come to mind, I was a dinosaur as a kid.
So was I, but I was from Disney's dinosaur.
See, I was just your generic green dinosaur, and everyone thought I was a frog.
And that is sad.
It was sad.
Did you look like a frog?
I mean, it had teeth. So, like, I don't know what
Right.
kind of frogs these people are seeing, but I remember, I'm still defensive. I remember as a kid going indoors and then being like, oh, a frog. And mom thought it was so funny. And I was like, oh, I'm a dinosaur. I'm big and scary.
Come on.
Everyone thought I was a frog. So, yeah, that's one that always sticks out. I remember I was a zombie football player because
That's cool.
I was playing football and I had the pads and
Yeah,
stuff.
I feel like everyone does like a zombie something at
You
some
have to,
point.
yeah.
I was a zombie ninja with an afro.
Amazing. I love that.
That was a good time.
I don't remember that one. It sounds incredible.
That was freshman year
Okay.
of high school.
I feel like my freshman year is when I did zombie football player, but I could be wrong. Who knows?
Let's see. I was Joker.
Nice.
Heath Ledger Joker.
Yep.
I was what else? I've been so many. I was Ranch. That's probably Ranch
were
and Santa
Ranch.
Claus.
Ranch is a classic.
Recent years, those have
Yeah.
been like the hits,
Right.
The heavy
Yeah.
hitters.
You can't remember any more from when you were a kid?
Let's see. I was a Scarecrow.
Ooh, good one.
That was when I was really young. I guess I was Pooh Bear at some point.
Do you remember your first one?
Was it Pooh Bear?
I was a pumpkin.
You were
And I feel like mom reused that for all of us.
maybe. I mean, why not?
can't
I don't
think
know.
of a
My
reason.
Scarecrow or Pooh Bear were like one of my first ones for
Okay.
sure. What else? I was a ninja like a couple times.
You gotta be.
I learned like as I got older, I didn't really like the costumes where I had to wear a mask all night.
Yeah, I know.
Because it just gets sweaty.
I think
and
we
it's
all
like,
learned that at some point.
Yeah.
Like, why do we do this to ourselves?
Let me see. You see the costume all the time, but it's like it's like a bunch of like bones and blood and skin and stuff,
Hmm.
and it's a whole suit, and the face has like long wavy hair.
Okay.
And the face is like all monstrous. It's hard to explain, but it's like a purple cloudy. We still have it actually.
Oh, yeah.
But that you see like in horror movies and stuff, like when they get generic costumes.
Yeah.
That's one of the costumes that pops up. I'm like, hey,
awesome.
I was that.
I was that.
But yeah, slashers. I think I might have been. I was Freddy Krueger one year. 'Cause
Oh,
I
cool.
had the claws. I remember that.
I remember I had a Freddy Krueger sweater one year, but I never actually dressed like him.
Oh come on!
I just bought all the stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I think I even had the hat.
You're
I
like,
didn't-
you didn't do it.
I don't think I went as maybe I did. I know one of my favorite ones, as much as nobody likes wearing masks, was the haunted mask
Oh
from
yeah,
Goosebumps.
Yep.
Did you ever use that?
Yeah, we used it. I might have used it twice.
Cool. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That's a good one. I was a really good vampire one year. I had a cape. That's what made it so
That's.
good.
I mean,
Had like the collar and bro
dude,
fangs.
fangs
Had a cape.
and the cape.
El cape.
El cape diem.
So yeah, I think those are all the highlights. I'm trying
Yeah.
to think of anything else.
I don't think there's anything else for me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But purple mohawk
Purple Mohawk.
or Christy Chu, same person.
I forgot.
Thank you for the question.
Yes,
for the,
thank you.
for the questions. And our final one was from Luke.
Luke Stoats.
Luke Stoats. Luke the Duke.
What's up, buddy?
He just said he thought the crypt keeper lived under his bed.
Yeah. So okay, that's great because it made me think. So were there any monsters or things that you thought? I guess this kind of ties into like things you're afraid of as a kid. But was there anything that ever actually crossed your mind, like this thing could be in my closet, or Under My Bed, or was that dolls for you?
Yeah, mostly just like Chucky. The Crypt Keeper was very scary to me as a
scary,
kid.
yeah. Which is funny because he's like, seems like a chill dude, you know?
Yeah, it's like I'd hang out with him now, but
He's just introducing his show.
yeah, he's just like,
No harm. Yeah, he laughs a lot.
yeah,
He's a jolly soul.
he's having a good time.
having a great time.
But yeah, as far as like nothing that sticks out to me other than dolls.
Yeah.
You know, after seeing The Grudge, I always thought The Grudge was like crawling in my bed like the girl, but
Spooky. Yeah, see, that's a scary one. When it's when like the crux of the story is that the character like lives in your closet or under your bed or shows up like just in any dark corner. That's unfair.
yeah.
Because we all have dark corners.
Right. It's like it's something we can't escape.
The shower.
Oh yeah.
Got to check behind doors and
Oh, my
stuff.
stomach's gonna make a noise.
So it's your stomach.
No.
It must be.
Nothing. Brett keeps messing with his mic. Is it me? It is me, isn't it? It is you. What have you done to me?
That's all right. I can fix it.
Okay.
It's all good. Everybody relax. Yeah, the Crypt Keeper's scary.
Yeah.
He definitely, a couple Tales of the Crypt episodes definitely left me a little spooked, but I don't think I thought he was around. Man, imagine him living under your bed though.
Oh. Just hearing the laugh like in the middle of the night.
Oh, yikes. Yikers.
Nope.
No me gusta.
But since we're talking about under the bed,
Yeah.
I think that'll fit nicely into our next segment in television.
It will! All right, I moved Tim's cable and now everything is better.
There shouldn't be any static.
Wait, stop. No, it's good. I'm just kidding.
That scared me.
All right, we're in TV.
You can introduce the next one.
Yes, so this was a really fun recommendation.
Yep.
This one's from Jesse's Floating Castle.
Jesus.
Jesse said trick or treat first.
Trick or
of all.
treat. Ah, trick or treat. Smell my feet.
She wants a treat, which is a great choice
Yeah.
out of the two.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want a trick.
No, is a trick like
It's pain.
it's pain?
Yeah.
It's not like it's not getting like when we go to a haunt. Is that getting tricks?
Yes.
Oh, then I like tricks.
Well, yeah.
Tricks are for kids. When I was little, I was super scared of the Nickelodeon show Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Which we are familiar with.
Reasonable. Yes. Specifically, there was an episode, a boit.
A boit.
I think she meant about, but I love the way the word a boit looks.
A boit.
A clown under a kid's bed that made me scared of both clowns and under my bed. To this day, I will not look it up. Now, what was cool about this is, so I looked it up. I had to look up, I had vague memories of this, and I had to look up, Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes with clowns? Because I was like, are there multiple? I was right the first time, but I also watched a second episode, which was funny because I went back and looked, and Christy Chu also commented on this one and said, I remember this or the one about the kid who stole the clown's nose, unless that's the same episode. It is not the same episode.
Okay.
Two different ones. So I just locked your phone, so I'm hoping I can remember the titles, but I think the first one was The Tale of the Crimson Clown. This is the one that Jesse recommended because this one definitely has a clown under the bed.
Yes.
The second one was The Tale of Laughing in the Dark.
Okay.
You first watched one about soup.
Yes. So you. So Brett sent me a link.
Tim watched a bonus episode.
Brett sent me a link to an episode, and so I clicked the link, and it starts up, and I'm just watching the episode. I'm like, man, this is the clown. I'm like 12 minutes in. It's like a 20-minute episode.
I know, they're
and I'm
not
like,
long.
I'm like, where's the clown?
Yeah.
And so the episode I watched was about this like guy who was creating the world's like greatest soup. He sold it for like $100 per bowl.
Okay.
And it turns out the soup was like the essence of evil or of scares, of fear. And so he was scaring people to make the soup or whatever. So I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah.
So then when I looked at the website you sent me, for whatever reason, the link was the episode after the clown one.
Oh, I wonder if I sent it after I finished the episode.
It would probably took you to the next one. Yeah. So I was like, okay, but I watched the whole soup episode. I'm like, I don't think this is right.
Nope.
So then I ended up watching the Crimson Clown
Tale
after.
of the Crimson Clown. What'd you think?
I thought it was goofy.
Yeah. It is.
The big thing is I expected the clown to be scarier.
Sure.
And it ended up being just like this like toy clown.
Yeah.
And it was just like a goofy toy clown.
It's funny because I was watching it and I definitely remember this episode. It's funny because I remember the kids. You start to see their faces and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I actually have memories of this. And they go into an antique store to buy a birthday present for their mother, and there's this clown in there. One of the kids sucks, and his older
my
brother,
God.
isn't he so annoying?
I wanted to throw that kid out a window.
Yeah, 100%. I also remember, so in this episode, that kid steals some money and buys a Sega game.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed the video game things throughout this episode.
Oh my God. I wrote it in the notes.
You did?
He only had an NES.
He had an NES. He had a game it wasn't Mark Sega, but it was clearly in a Sega shell.
For sure.
It was so funny. Did you see the Sonic 2 poster?
I did. It's also in my notes.
It's so quick, but
Yeah.
it's funny. They had it cut off from the center, so you couldn't actually see the text, but it's clearly a Sonic 2 poster. So that was just something
All
funny
the
about
game
it.
references. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, at least they tried.
Right.
I wonder if that was like a sponsorship thing, like a subtle. But it was weird because they had the NES.
I feel like they
not
were
the Genesis.
To me, it felt like they wanted video games that were relevant, but they were trying desperately to like not, what's the word, like infringe.
Yeah, that's the word. Infringe on the property.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I'm looking for.
Not have to pay for the copyrights. I
Yeah,
guess.
so like I don't know that the NES actually said Nintendo on it.
Yeah.
The game shell didn't actually say Sega on it, but I'll never forget as a kid him buying that and being like, because that was probably the Sega era, and I was like, I want to play that game. It's
like, what
and it
is
was like
it?
Zebo the Clown or
Yeah, it
whatever.
was a clown game.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
good.
Which I think is a reference to the other episode, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's the clown in the other episode.
I didn't see the other
The game that
episode.
he got. Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure, but only almost. So
Okay.
let's move on. So, yeah, he buys that game, and there's a toy clown in the antique shop, and his older brother's like, "Hey, kids who suck get attacked by the Crimson Clown."
Right, because the brother stole the money from the other brother.
Right.
The younger brother who bought the game
Yes,
stole the money. So
buy the game.
to buy the game.
And the older brother was like, "Crimson Clown's going to kill you in your sleep." So yeah, the first part of the Crimson Clown attacking is him just showing up as the toy. I do remember there's a part in the show where the Crimson Clown is played by like a human and the head is gigantic. That part freaked me out as a kid because he became like
real.
Yeah.
As a kid, I imagine that was probably scary. And I guess I don't know. My memory of Are You Afraid of the Dark? It was like the scarier version of Goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that because granted, I only saw the Soup episode and the clown one.
Soup is scary, bro.
Soup can be scary. But yeah, it definitely was like a little darker in tone and the clown itself like. I see the scariness of it.
Yeah.
But I wanted him to be a creepier looking clown.
yeah.
But they couldn't make the show too scary for kids.
They can't all be Terrifier. Tim.
Exactly.
Imagine, oh my gosh, if we had the resources, you know how cool it would be? Maybe we can make that happen. It'd be so cool to remake Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes
Oh my
with
God.
like,
modern horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because there's always like tropes that are similar. Goosebumps, I guess, does it primarily too, or maybe even more, where it like references other, like Slappy.
Yes.
Did Slappy scare you as a kid? Speaking of dummies,
Yes, yeah.
and dolls.
Oh my God, Slappy was too much.
Dude.
But I would watch it because we had it on VHS and
Yep.
I'd watch it over and over again. It was like that morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
But I always would like cover my eyes and be like, no Slappy.
Why do we do this to ourselves? Yeah, so the other episode that I watched, The Tale of Laughing in the Dark, it's 3 kids go to this amusement park, and there's this fun house that is said to be haunted. The story behind it, because I like watching these old ones and being like, why was this so scary as a kid?
Yeah.
And the story behind why this place was haunted was actually pretty like intriguing, and as a kid definitely would have freaked me out. Because they're reading an old newspaper article, and there was, I think they said it had been... The haunt had been there, or the fun house had been there since the park was originally opened in like, I don't know, the 20s or the 40s, whatever, a long time ago. And there was a guy who played, I forget if he played a clown or, no, he was a criminal and he ran into the fun house and he smoked cigars and the fun house burned down with him in it.
This one seems very familiar.
Yeah.
Did we watch it for a special at some point
I
before?
don't think so.
Because I remember watching it.
Unless maybe we talked about Are You Afraid of the Dark and we watched different episodes or something.
Yeah.
That might have happened.
Yeah, because the cigar part sounds very familiar.
Okay. So then, it's the kids. One of the kids is like more of the pompous one. He's like, go in, you're chicken, blah, blah,
course.
blah. And then he ends up going in. And that's when he steals the clown's nose because the kids are like, you got to go in. And like, if you're so brave, like, you got to go in. And then this might jog your memory. They're like, well, how will you know or how will we know if you actually go all the way through? And he's like, I'll steal Zebo's nose, and if I steal it, then you have to wear it to school for a week. So then that's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Steals the nose, the clown starts haunting him and stuff. It's actually pretty creepy. Like, it's not like I was scared watching it. I wasn't scared.
No, not at all.
I wasn't scared watching it at all.
What the heck?
But I can see how it would be. But, there was like a death and a haunting involved. And, when we were like, however old we were watching that's spooky business.
That's big spooky business.
So I don't blame Jessie for not revisiting this episode.
I say she should face her fears.
You know what? You're right.
I think now's the time. It's because the clown. It's just a clown.
Yeah.
Just a toy.
It's just a clown. I think let's all face our fears. I think I should cover your bed in dolls and you should sleep with a huge pile of dolls tonight.
Okay.
Right?
And I'll just throw you in the ocean.
Yeah, I'll swim to the bottom of the ocean and be like, there's nothing down here anyways.
There's nothing at all.
Yeah.
It's all about facing our fears.
That's what it is. That's the big theme of the October special part 4.
I thought it's brothers who are bad to each other.
Why?
Because there was this clown episode and then the next clown thing
Yeah.
was about brothers.
Yeah. Well, they were just friends.
The brothers?
What are you talking about?
The 3 kids and the clown
Oh,
one?
that one too.
Yeah.
You're right. Why is it all clowns and brothers?
I don't know.
That is a theme.
Where's our clown?
Holy bananas. I'm afraid. Clowns and dolls are both. I know I've mentioned this before, but clowns are definitely used more in horror than like as fun things at this point. I feel like same thing with dolls.
Yeah. I think dolls are universally scary.
They're meant to be like dolls.
Oh, like a
But they're like, dolls.
little human. Exactly.
Yeah. My gosh. That's all we had in TV, right?
Yeah.
Jesse's Floating Castle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I know. I kind of want to watch more Are You Afraid of the Dark now?
That was fun. And that was season 3, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of seasons.
I know. I was like,
the link you
whoa.
sent me, I was like, okay, it just keeps
Yeah,
going.
There's a ton. And the Crimson Clown I think was season 3, and then Laughing in the Dark was actually I think season 1.
I was gonna say if the game was a reference to it, then it had to be before, right?
Yeah, right. Yes. That is correct. Chronologically speaking.
Right.
And speaking of speaking,
Yeah.
movies?
Movies.
Okay.
Ooh, let's go to the movies.
Now, do we transition into the most controversial one, or do we save that one for the end?
I put that at the end.
We can.
Although transitioning into it now would also make sense,
Fits.
but I did put it at the end because that one, we have some interesting things to talk about.
Yeah, that one's got an interesting history.
Right.
So we'll save it for the end.
Okay, groovy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which one do we talk about first?
So I think what I have on there first is, it's actually at the end of our already growing list, so we'll talk about our friend Edward Payson, an anti-hero production on Instagram with underscores between each word.
Right.
He sent us his yet-to-be-released documentary. Exclusive. We are one of maybe a handful or less of people.
4.5 people, I heard.
4.5 people have seen
Yep.
this documentary. Super cool topic in this documentary. I was so excited that he sent it over because I was really, really interested in it.
Yeah, thank you for sending it, Edward. That's
Yes.
I feel like we're like a legitimate podcast.
I know.
We're getting early exclusive peeks at things.
I'm a real boy. That does feel really cool.
Yeah.
So this documentary is called In Search of an All-American Massacre.
Nailed it.
Is it an All-American Massacre?
An All-American Massacre.
In Search of All-American I think the movie was called All-American Massacre.
In Search of All-American Massacre.
The Lost Texas Chainsaw Film.
Yes.
That's the full title.
Edward, we always have a hard time with your titles.
We got to cut the word count down a little bit.
Yeah, it's
There's
great.
no "and." I think it's In Search of All-American Massacre.
Okay, restart all over again.
The Lost. In Search of the documentary is called In Search of All-American Massacre. The Lost Texas Chainsaw Film.
Nailed it.
Film or movie? This was cool not only because of its exclusivity and it not being out yet, but I was super intrigued because I don't want to spoil anything in the movie at all because it's not even out yet. And I know he said he's submitted it to a bunch of festivals, and I'm really excited to see the outcome of this movie because the whole focus of the documentary is Toby Hooper, who is responsible for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. his son, after the second Texas Chainsaw movie, worked on this movie called All American Massacre. And essentially, there's just very little information about it. And nobody knows why it's not out yet. And he in this documentary, we get to hear from one of the actors that was heavily involved in it. They discuss sort of from start to the last time that this actor was in touch with Tony Hooper, who was responsible for the movie, and how he doesn't really know why it's not out either. But there's these little glimpses of hope that like we might see it at some point. And it's just a really interesting subject, trying to figure out like not only why is it not out yet, but how can we learn as much about it as possible. And we get into like searching on eBay for certain clues and looking at photos and trying to get in touch with anyone possible, which I know Edward told us, and you can see glimpses of it in the film, that he had trouble, him and his team had trouble getting in touch with people who would talk about the movie and talk about what was going on with
it's
it.
like it's almost like a cursed film or something, because they don't want to talk about it. Now there could be a lot of like legal mumbo jumbo going on,
Sure.
as far as like release and stuff,
Right.
But it itches my lost media itch, if you will,
100%, yeah.
because it is a full like film that is, to our understanding, potentially completed,
Right.
or very close to. And that's how the story goes too. Is that it's like, because it was supposed to be released in 2000, October 2000.
Yeah.
And for, we're in 2022 now.
right.
It's still nothing. But it's just like such a fascinating story on this whole thing. And, it makes you think of how many other projects out there are
Right.
incompleted and, or finished, and like one individual buyer like buys the original film stock and they're like, I just want it for my collection.
Yeah.
Which I've never understood that. Like, I get the idea of having like a one of a kind thing in the world, but preservation. Let's save these for future generations. Let's, even if you still own the physical copy, upload it to the internet.
Yeah.
It just let it out there. I don't know. I mean, I get it, but it's also just like,
Yeah.
save it, give it to the world.
Yeah, that was
To
like,
the world.
there was a, I don't even know what the status of it is currently, but there was a Wu-Tang release that was like, they sold one physical hard copy of it and was not released anywhere else.
Wow.
And
How many songs were on it? Do you know?
I can't remember if it was a full record or not. I think it was.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah, but there was a whole thing about that it's like, you can own this and nobody else will have it, kind of thing. And
How much did it sell for?
I don't know, actually. I'm not even going to wager a guess because I have no idea what it went for, but it was a lot. It was a lot of money.
Oh, I bet.
And I don't know if it stayed exclusive, like if the buyer ever did anything with it or what, but things like that are very interesting. And there are a couple moments throughout this documentary where it's like, this person maybe knows more than they told us, or they might have more insight on the status of it. And it's so ambiguous. And I think that's the really interesting part about the documentary is like, what do we know? And it seems,
and what Edward may or may not find related to it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's definitely the intriguing part about it. It's cool. You get to see some exclusive photos and things that I don't know that anyone else has had access to other than Edward and his team. And for any horror fan, any fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which how well versed are you?
Not really. Like the only one I've seen, funny enough, was the remake. Yep.
I remember seeing that in theaters, but I don't remember a ton about it. Like
the only part I remember specifically is like he chops I think it's some dude's leg off, or the girl, and he gets like a handful of salt and puts it right up into the leg.
Oh, you're right.
That is so vividly burned in my skull.
Isn't she like on a hook?
Yeah, I think so. I couldn't remember if it was a dude or a girl, but
why did I feel that exclamation?
Because it was so like
explanation.
Well, yeah, you like.
I felt while you were explaining it.
You felt it.
Yeah.
I
remember that
But
too.
that's like so vivid in my brain. Because it's like I didn't understand at the time that salt in wounds is like awful.
Yeah.
And now as I'm older, like I understand that he was trying to like preserve the body and all that stuff. But
certain scene in Terrifier wouldn't have been as impactful
without
an understanding of salt and wounds. It's all science.
It's all science.
So I mean that was cool too because a lot of the people interviewed give kind of their history with horror and specifically with Texas Chainsaw. And did you ever see the original? So the original, and it's been a very long time since I saw it, but I had a very similar feeling that a lot of the people in the documentary
Documentary?
And that's amazing. And the documentary and the documentary describe. I don't even know if that's a proper way to end the sentence I started.
I
but
don't even know what you're
I'm gonna
talking
roll
about
with
at this point.
the way it's filmed and the way that movie feels
Yes.
is very scary because it feels like I forget who it is, but one of the people in the documentary mentions it felt like this really happened. Like it's not found footage, but it feels like it could have been because the way it's filmed and the way it doesn't feel like people are acting. It feels like it's just really well done. And that's sort of the fear that it invokes. It's not like, oh my gosh, this spooky person or this spooky ghost or whatever. It's like, this is a real crazy person.
It's like, please run.
Yeah. So like hearing sort of the history of that. And they also talk about the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I guess had a very different tone. And someone in the movie also mentions it being almost like a horror comedy, which I had no idea about. I really don't know anything about it.
I saw it, I think it might have been last Halloween. It was on TV at some point, and I was just watching it. I think it was on AMC.
Okay.
And yeah, it's like, it's goofy. Like,
Really?
it's very like B horror and stuff.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, it's fine, but
Yeah.
it's super violent too.
Huh. Yeah. I don't remember ever seeing anything about that. So all that to say, the documentary also piqued my interest about the series itself.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
want to go watch the original for sure.
Yep. So yeah, I'm excited for it to come out. I'm excited to see if this, because I knew very little about this. This film even existing. I think that's the case for most people. So I'm interested to see if anything gets kicked up from this documentary coming out. More information, more history. If the movie comes out in the future, like after this documentary is out, that's a really cool, like, sort of piece of history, like the steps towards that movie coming out.
That would be perfect.
You know what I mean? So that's really cool too. There's also some interesting side stories about, or not. Some of them are stories, but also there's one gentleman who talks a lot about like the masks and the makeup, and I find that stuff interesting.
Yeah.
So that was cool too. So super stoked to have gotten to have an early screening of that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Edward.
Exclusive.
I don't know where it's going to be. He may have told me, and I may have forgotten, but I don't know that I know where this is going to be released yet. But as soon as we know, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
So you can watch it. You know what I mean?
Learn the history.
Yeah. In Search of All-American Massacre, the Lost Texas Chainsaw film.
Got it.
Did I?
Yeah, you got 100.
I think we got
On
it.
the test.
100%, baby.
Hundo!
The next movie we're going to talk about here. This
Yes.
comes, am I right that this is, we're going to shout out Andy the Mandy again?
I think, yep.
Holy bananas.
Holy bananas.
So this is a movie I've actually, this was put on our radar before. I think it may have been Edward who mentioned it, but it's definitely been recommended before. The Sadness.
Sadness.
Where did you watch it?
On the computer.
Nice, dude. It's a good spot. It's on Shudder. So if anyone's interested,
on
you can find it
Shudder.
on Shudder.
Nope, I found it on some random site.
So it's also out there on a random site. This is, we'll call it an infection movie.
Yeah.
It's a zombie movie in the way that 28 Days Later is a zombie movie. But
Gotcha.
it's an infection, and they refer to essentially what's going on in this movie is there's a virus that is akin to rabies, essentially, and whoa.
It's a lot to take in.
I get why I've heard about this movie from multiple people. Have you ever seen The Horde?
I've not
I wish I brought it.
brought it for me to watch.
Yeah, because I own it. It's one of like
The Horde and The Host are two that you've been telling me to watch for years. and I still
strictly
haven't.
H movies.
Yeah.
yeah, in
The-
October. The Horde is my favorite zombie. I love 28 Days Later though, but The Horde's probably my favorite. And this movie, part of it is like the heaviness that you feel in The Horde is very similar in the sadness. It's just, it's scary.
It's so. I mean, from pretty early on, you get like inclinations of the world starting to spiral out of control, and there's this virus going around, like you said, and it's weird because it is in a sense a zombie virus, but not also because
Right.
the people are still mentally all there.
Right.
They start acting crazy, but they're still like they're talking, they're just doing normal things.
Yeah.
Normal in the sense of like,
I mean,
not like zombies.
Yeah.
But they do like
You're
bite
right.
into each other and rip each other apart and stuff. So
Yeah,
it's just weird.
It is more of like the rabid behavior. Very, I guess the similarities between this and 28 Days Later is these are running infected.
Yes.
These are scary hordes of people. And the explanation in this movie that you hear from a doctor is that, and this is the part that potentially, I guess maybe a trigger warning here for like abuse, because this is a thing that is harder for me to watch than violence, which I don't know what that says about me, but well, no, I feel like this could. Anyways, let me just tell you what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So the doctor mentions how it impacts the part of the brain that's really aggressive. And I don't know if it's another part or if that part is related to also like sexual behavior.
I think he said it was a different part.
Different part?
It triggers two like different parts in the brain.
Okay. So early on, it's just like the violence you would expect from a zombie movie, but turned up. Dude, that part in the cafe
Oh yeah.
when
with the fries.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't even. Whoa.
That was
Because that's the moment where it turns.
yes.
You know, they like, oh my god, the things they start doing.
Yeah.
It's bloody.
Which you need a turning point in these movies. I like the structure of a movie like this, where it reminds me of like Dawn of the Dead, like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
Yep.
When there's this nice, peaceful opening, you're getting to know a couple even, and then there's a turning point where you're like, uh-oh,
That's not good.
these are all bad things,
Yep.
and it just everything escalates. Dude, her driving through the city after that, I love that
Yeah.
sequence so much. So the thing is, you're seeing all this violence, but then it escalates into like sexual violence too, and that is like hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like that, some of it, I was going to say some of it doesn't show you too much, but then that gets made up for.
Yeah, right. There's like some that are they leave up to the imagination. Granted, they still show like the act, if you will. They just don't show it happening, I guess.
Yeah, right,
But
right,
then,
right.
like you said later on, they're like, nah, never mind.
Yeah.
It's like, here you go, have it all.
Right.
So yeah, just be aware. This movie does. It's I don't know if it's even rated, but it's a
I
hard
don't know
R.
either. I would imagine it's not, but maybe. But it is. It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
It's super intense the whole time. It also does what these movies I think should do, where you see like there's a doctor character that you're like you don't know how to feel about him, and it's a little bit of a roller coaster, and.
It's like, is he right? Is he wrong?
Yeah,
Like,
and then the situation he brings up is like, oh my gosh, I actually didn't see that coming when she opens the thing.
oh
and
my god,
poof, I was like, oh no,
I didn't think.
I was like, what
but
are we-
it like I don't want to say it makes sense, but like he also.
yeah,
I don't
mean,
know. I don't know.
So I feel like that part shows like what the mind can do in a situation like that, because no one's safe.
Right.
And the other thing that's cool is there's kind of an ongoing villain in this movie,
Yep.
which isn't always in sort of an infection or zombie film.
Right, there's like, someone who's persistently shows up again
Yeah.
and again. You're like, get out of here.
Yeah, right. I read a quick review on Shudder, and they referred to that as like the Nemesis type zombie.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, that is kind of like he just pops up.
The one thing that I was a little annoyed with is I'm not entirely sure how it spreads. Like, I know it's like an airborne disease, but like, some people were not infected immediately. Like,
true.
Is it just like how some colds work, where it's just like it'll be sporadic and you'll randomly
Right.
get it if you're not being safe?
Yeah, because they did say early on there was like a news broadcast that was saying it lies dormant in a lot of people. Sometimes it'll show up as just a cold, and it's so hard not to relate everything to COVID.
Yeah,
because
I
it's
mean,
like everything. They're
This
saying.
came out in 2021.
Okay.
so it's a I wouldn't say post COVID, but generally,
Yeah, I mean,
You know, I bet there was a lot of COVID influence
for sure. Yeah. So, and if it came out that year, I wonder if they were filming it in 2020. Like
Oh, they must have,
yeah.
right?
I wonder if it got interrupted at all. Like, how weird would that be if you're shooting this like pandemic movie?
Yeah,
and then they're
then
like, wait, we have an actual
It's like
pandemic.
it's really, really
Even the things they're
happening.
saying, like in the news broadcast, there's like the pundit or whatever is talking to a politician, and they're like, "Why the fear tactics? Like, not many people have even died. Like, why are you telling us to be afraid of this and all that stuff? And just felt very reminiscent of like the politics of COVID and all
Oh my
that
god,
stuff.
yeah. And they, I think, specifically said don't use politics as like
Yes.
political warfare or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, that's what's going on.
Right. Yeah. It's
Bad
pretty
reflection.
wacky.
So.
Right.
But yeah, the movie itself is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The story is pretty self-contained, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You're essentially just following this couple as they're trying to reunite in this madness.
Yeah.
Again, hyper violent. There's one part early on where they're on a train. And one guy in particular gets like stabbed,
Yeah.
and there is so much blood.
Yeah.
Like it is obnoxious.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my.
It is. Yeah.
But it's I mean it's a big scene because it gets like everything moving.
That scene was nuts. It's a cool scene.
Yeah.
And that part was funny. Like it was so
Over the top.
Yeah. And you're right too. This is very much not just. It has obviously ties to like a zombie film, but the people being aware of what they're doing and maybe and not being able to stop it.
Yeah.
That's the part that's so uncomfortable and like scary and like ugh, like
Yeah, right. Because like it's like something's taking over your body, but
Yeah.
you're still in there watching
Right.
it all happen. So
And people are talking and and it's pretty well covered too, at least with theories from characters why they don't attack each other.
Yeah.
And like it's pretty well crafted, I'd say. Like,
Yeah.
But it's really self-contained. It takes place in this small area. There's only like a couple locations really. So it moves quick. It's lots of action, lots of violence. It's pretty wild.
yeah, it is. It fits the name, the sadness.
I know. Interesting that it's called that, isn't it?
Well, I mean, because of the like one of the effects of the disease is they're like crying. Their face has all these like it looks like tears, but it's also like jelly coming out of their face. But
Yeah, I didn't like the jelly.
yeah, it looked a little weird.
It's gross.
Yeah,
It's just gross.
Yeah.
I didn't notice the tear aspect until isn't there a guy with a mask on the train?
Yeah.
And a tear like comes out. Oh, he's wearing glasses.
Oh, right, and
the
that
tear
happens.
comes out.
Yeah,
I really liked that moment.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
I did you pick him out early that he was going to be?
I can't
Like
remember
crazy?
because I was looking for suspects at that point.
Whoever it was going to be.
Yeah.
But I when I saw him get on the train, I'm like, why is he wearing glasses?
guy, yeah.
That's weird. It's
Right.
because their eyes all transform.
That's the big indicator.
Yeah.
The eyes, and then they all smile. Dude, the group in the middle of the street who, when the one of the main characters is starting up his bike,
Oh yeah,
and they all turn and look at him. It reminded me of Siren.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you can't be near groups and make noise because then they like
They
see
come
you and
flying.
they come.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
dude, that part's scary. And them chasing him in the street. Some really cool camera shots in
Yep.
this movie too. If you're into that kind of thing, you'll like this movie.
Yeah, and this also is a Chinese film. It takes place in
think so.
China.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were Korean or Chinese. I mean, again, it takes place in China. I just don't know.
Yeah, I remember the.
Yeah, country of origin Taiwan, and they speak Mandarin in it. Okay,
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it was good.
it was good. It was a good pick.
Did you like the ending?
Yeah,
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 I like
Yeah.
that final shot.
yes.
It's long,
It's long.
spooky. It's intense, dude. The whole end of the movie takes place in that one hallway. In the
It really
hospital.
does. Yeah, once she's in there.
Yeah.
We're trying to step around spoilers, but
crazy.
yeah, I'd recommend it. Just be prepared. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is very dark. It would fit into like Edward's suggestion movies list.
Yeah, I guess it would.
with some of its dark themes, but
Yeah. But this one was, what makes them different? Because did you enjoy this movie?
Yeah.
I was watching it like Tim's going to love this movie.
yeah. It was why am I going to love it?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Thanks for the rec, Andy.
Yes.
You
thank
sent us some other really great ones that we didn't get to, but
someday.
that was one that I was like, we got to watch this.
So it's not on the list, but the next one we're going to talk about is from Nick Hampshire.
Oh.
And he recommended.
that's right.
Yeah, he recommended the Halloween
The
Tree.
Halloween Tree.
Halloween.
So I
Tree.
watched this, I think, last year, so it's pretty fresh for
Yes.
me. And I also have very fond memories of it as a kid.
Yes.
When's the last time you've seen it? Have you seen it?
I watched it for this.
This was your first time, though?
No, I saw it as a kid.
Okay.
Because we had it, I believe, on VHS. I
think
vividly
we did.
remember the box art.
Clamshell, wasn't it?
I thought it was just like a slipcover.
Slipcover?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because you see, there's the kids running on it, and it's I think it's the
so
skeleton.
skinny.
Yeah, they are all skinny and lanky. But yeah, so this is a story by Ray Bradbury.
I always forget
And he narrates it too, which is actually really cool.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But he wrote what else did he write? He wrote a book I read called Dandelion Wine. But what's his famous book? He's got a lot, but
The Shining, I think was Ray Bradbury.
what is? I feel stupid now. Not The Shining. See, why'd I screw myself?
All that's
over?
going through my head are Roald Dahl books, and that's not. That's a
not
different author. So
That well, I mean, it can be Fahrenheit 451.
oh,
Dandelion Wine is one I read. Yeah. Anyways, a pretty well known.
Pet Cemetery,
Yeah, exactly.
Carrie.
Right. It.
Yep. That was a long one. That was a thick. That was a thick.
That was a thick boy.
Thick boy. Salem's Lot.
Right.
Yep.
All those. Yeah. That it was cool when he went by Stephen King for a little while.
I know. So interesting.
Yeah. Changed up.
Such a wide body of work.
Anyways, so this was a cartoon made by Hanna-Barbera, which we know is the king of Cartoon Network early cartoons, including Yogi Bear and stuff like that.
Yogi
all the way
Bear.
up until even Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls. I think those are under Hanna-Barbera as well.
Oh yeah, remember the little
Yeah,
bumper at the end,
bumpers.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know what
I don't know what this
ultimately bumpers.
Little bumpers.
I don't know. I know Hanna-Barbera is still around, I think, or it just got like sucked into Cartoon Network. Anyways, you'll recognize the animation style when you see it.
Yes, that's
just,
true.
It's just their style. But yeah, this follows the story of a couple kids who are trying to save their friend on Halloween night as his what looks to be his soul or ghost form steals his pumpkin soul from some evil wizard guy.
Yeah, that's pretty much nails it.
And they just go through the history of Halloween.
Yeah.
The origin of their costumes and
The tree holds the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lanterns, right?
yes, there's the
And
tree holds the jack-o'-lanterns, and those are what I assume are people's souls.
like souls, pretty much. Yeah. And when they're lit,
Yep.
you're alive.
They're alive.
What is happening?
The dogs. There's someone at the door.
Let's see how long
Maybe.
it goes on.
Hold on, let me check Ring.
Ooh, there's some growling.
Let me see.
You guys hearing this?
Are you? Am I?
Guys,
hearing
listen,
this?
listen close. Oh, it stopped.
Hold on, I'm checking the Ring.
Tim's checking the ring.
There's a car outside. Oh, it's UPS.
Unbelievable.
Dropping off a package. Bye, sir.
Are they tearing them apart right now?
No, they're inside.
Oh, that's good for them. So the Halloween tree
Yes.
holds the pumpkins. If they're lit, you have a soul.
Right.
And you're alive.
Right.
If you don't, I forget what happens. They take his pumpkin, right?
They don't take it. The kid, Pip. What's his name? Pip.
Pippet.
Pippet. His name's like Pumpkin, but it's like Pip.
His name's not Pumpkin.
No, but it's like Pipkin. That's his name. Pipkin,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is like Pumpkin.
It's very much like Pumpkin. I guess
so
you're right.
His
His name is like Pumpkin.
right. He is like the ultimate kid. They say he like
Yeah, greatest kid ever.
Yeah, the best kid ever. But he gets sent to the hospital for appendicitis.
Yeah.
and so they think he's still playing a prank. So they go searching for him. That's where they find the mansion, the Halloween tree. Then the adventure ensues. It
does.
This movie's surprisingly dark.
It is.
Because of this kid who they're following, Pipkin. He is dying. He's actively dying.
Right.
Through which the fact that it was appendicitis is kind of weird. Like I kind of wish it was just like a mysterious illness because you obviously you can still die from appendicitis.
Yeah.
Like it's a scary thing, but it just seems like a weird type of medical issue that he's like dying because don't you just remove the appendix and
Yeah, I mean, if you don't in time though,
Yeah.
it blows up and kills you.
right. Yeah. But like it seems like so he was it was
I
just
think,
a weird
if I understand appendicitis
I
correctly.
think you're right. It's messed up. So like him being in the ghostly form, was that them actively removing the appendix? Was it them not doing it quick enough? So he's like, oh, kill
interesting.
me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like it's just like it seems like a weird thing that
I
he's
think it
like,
was like,
I just want to die.
kill me, please. No, it is dark though. I mean, right from the beginning when they go to his house to get him to go trick or treating, and isn't there an ambulance taking him away in
Yeah.
that moment?
They just walk in and he's freaking like
that's like
being taken away.
that alone messed with me as a kid. That's
Yeah.
why I remember it so vividly, and the way that I guess if you haven't seen it before, I won't spoil it. But the way the resolution at the end,
Yes.
I was like, That stuck with me heavy.
It's a heavy price, if you will.
Right?
Yeah. It's cool. It's so this came out in 1993.
Okay.
And it was a TV special on Cartoon Network, The Halloween Tree.
It was on Cartoon Network?
It was on Cartoon Network. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because again, Hanna-Barbera. So.
Right.
But yeah, I think it originally was a TV special, and then they later put it on VHS.
No wonder it stuck with me. I was 5.
You're like, please.
Crazy.
Yeah, I remember the VHS and we watched it. But yeah, it's just like I think my favorite thing about it is the music. It is so sets such a beautiful tone.
Yeah.
Because it's so like Halloween and mysterious and like
is.
like it's just so out there, I guess. But yeah, it just really sets a tone for something that I mean, I don't think we'd see it today unless it's like a Netflix special, you know?
Sure.
Or just like any kind of streaming special. But it just feels so unique to the time.
Yeah, it does.
A great, like, this is one that's like The Grinch, like an animated movie
Yeah.
you watch every holiday. You should, anyways. Every Halloween, it's when you pop on because
Totally.
it's just like cozy in a way.
It is, yeah.
It feels comforting to watch because it's like, again, just all Halloween focused.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great watch. It's a little tricky to find. It's on Tubi, of
it
all
is.
places, but I'm surprised it's not like on HBO Max or something like that.
Me too. It feels like a really sort of I don't know for lack of a better term, like an unsung hero. Like it doesn't have a lot of like coverage. Its availability has been lacking for as long as I can remember. This is one that I forgot about for so long, and then when I finally remembered about it, I was like, "Whoa, where can I see that?" And it's like, I don't even know if it's ever been put out on DVD. Like
It might have.
Yeah.
I know you can buy it digitally on Prime Video.
Okay.
You can rent or buy it, but yeah, other than that, I mean, it's pretty much like a cult classic.
Yeah.
Cartoon cult classic.
I was really pleased when I watched it last year that it held up as well as it did. I
Yes.
was like, this is enjoyable. It's not like, you go and revisit some things and you're like, this is a drag. I don't know why I cared about this, but
Yeah.
this one held up. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was creepy. It was mysterious. Again, some darker themes for an animated
For sure.
animated show. But yeah, it's I recommend it big time.
I would also recommend it.
Recommend it.
Nick also recommended The Blob, which I've never watched, but need to. Yeah.
The Blob. I always think of Flubber. Disney's version of The Blob.
Very different movies. I think.
Yeah.
Great recommendation.
Yep, great macadamia nut documentary.
Sometimes you got to just forge ahead.
You just even if it's a mess.
Thanks for the rec, Nick. What did I say? Mecha-rendation? Great mecha-rendation.
Great.
That's hilarious.
Great macadamia nut.
This it's the last one, right?
The last movie, yep.
From our friend Josh, running the Pass NH.
Got it.
NH stands for New Hampshire. For anyone who's not local
Yeah,
or
come on.
familiar with
Get here.
the states.
Get around.
He recommended a movie called Clown House. And you got to really hit the
The Schlown House.
Clown House.
Maybe I shouldn't call it a Schlown House.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's a different movie. So this came out in what, 89?
I believe. Yep, 89.
I had never heard of this movie, and
neither.
there is a movie called Amityville Clown House, which I almost just watched, and then I messaged him and I was like, "Hey, buddy,
Oh, which one?
is this the one?" He's like, "No, not that one." So
glad it's
I found it.
specified.
I had to dig it up online somewhere.
Yes.
because you cannot find this movie anywhere.
Anywhere. It has no streaming anything, and that involves the history of the movie itself. Do we want to start with the history, or do we want to end with the history?
I say we end with it.
Okay.
if you're cool with that.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
So the movie is about three brothers, one of whom is a young Sam Rockwell.
Which is so funny.
A year right before his maybe greatest role of all time
Which
in
is?
1990's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Of course.
But it's so he's just always been great. Like
Yeah.
he's good in this movie.
He is.
You know what I mean? So he plays the oldest brother. And it's these three brothers, and they go to this local circus. And amidst reports of an asylum that's been broken out of,
Yes.
and the youngest brother has a strong fear of clowns.
Great. So let's go to the circus.
Let's go to the circus. And ultimately, what happens is I don't know. Can I spoil a little bit of it?
yeah, I guess so.
Some turn of events involving clowns at the circus,
Yes.
as well as three asylum escapees. turns into basically like a Three Ninjas situation in the house where the three brothers are alone, their parents are away, and there are three clowns
Yes.
attacking the brothers.
Which is weird because their mother was supposed to show up,
Eventually, yeah.
but doesn't.
Yeah, where'd she go?
She's just gone.
She just left. She rolled out.
Yeah.
I liked this movie.
I liked it too. It was it felt like a more adult version of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah,
Like an episode from that.
Sure.
Because it is R-rated, given the language they say. I think it is anyways.
I would
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
even with like some of the graphic nature of the film.
graphic kills.
Yeah.
So I would say my biggest complaint is they spend a lot of time of the characters like creeping around, not the clowns, but people like thinking something scary is going to happen, and it's like minutes of them being like, I'm slowly walking towards where
That's
a clown
true.
might be. So
That's true.
I felt like that really padded it out a lot, where I'm just sitting here like, where's the next clown?
Right.
But that being said, when the clowns were on screen, it was like legitimately creepy.
It was.
Because it was a lot of shots of them just like smiling and creeping around. And I found it more entertaining to see them like run away than to see them actually chase them.
Sure.
Like to be creeping around, that was scarier than them actually like attacking the boys.
Yeah. There was one really cool moment with like where the lights went out and Sam Rockwell's character is fixing the fuse box.
Yeah.
And there's like a flickering of the lights and a clown shows up. And it's very brief.
Yep.
You'll see him run in the background. There are a lot of little things like that. And one thing that I'll say, I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, but no, this is a little bit different. But aside from like the creeping around for too long, they really make you wait for any kind of interaction between the kids and the clowns.
Yeah.
And I actually liked that. There was so much build up to that I got to a point where I was like, are they ever going to know that each other is in the house? Like, I didn't know if they were ever going to cross paths.
Yeah.
But-
It's really like almost like what? 50, 60 minutes, like even 70 minutes, they really don't cross paths.
No, it's just a lot of like establishing the fears. And one of the things I really liked about it is they build up a lot of moments throughout the movie where you think like, oh, they're setting this up. This is going to happen to this person. This is where they're going to meet. This prop is actually a person. Like they do that. A couple of devices like that I really appreciated because the walk through the woods is like, that's one where it's like there's a chase scene and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty unsettling because those clowns are running full speed, you know?
Very close.
So yeah, that I think the thing that dates it the most is the sound design. Like the music is very silly.
Yeah, it's so goofy.
And that's the part that probably took me out of it the most. But if you overlook that, conceptually and with all the scenes and everything, I thought it was done pretty well.
Yeah.
That and the voice work, which you had some information on that I didn't know about.
Yes, so apparently the cameras they used were too loud and they didn't have like proper audio, whatever equipment, microphones, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So they had to actually go and redub almost the entire movie.
So weird.
So watching the movie, you can see there's a lot of moments where like clearly that's not what they said at that time. Like it just doesn't match.
It doesn't match,
And
yeah.
it's like throughout the whole movie. You'll see it.
I thought that was so weird.
Yeah, it's jarring if you don't know about it.
Yeah. Which I did not.
Right, and watching the movie, it's just weird. It's just weird.
It felt really strange. But overall, I liked it. By the end of it, I was like, I thought this was well done.
Yep.
I thought there was tension. There was...
The one thing, like, is I didn't know if the clowns... It's one of those things where it's like when you have kids, when you have kids in a movie, you don't know, like, how dark it'll go.
Yeah.
And, like, I couldn't tell at any point if the kids were ever in actual danger. Like, as far as, like, I didn't know if the clowns would kill them or not. But you do get your answer by the end of the movie.
You do.
And so it's, it's, I mean, surprisingly, for how cheesy and weird it seems, it was a pretty solid, like, cult classic.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I appreciate the recommendation. Again, that was Running the Pass NH.
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't checked. Has he been posting cooking videos and stuff still?
I haven't seen recently.
So Running the Pass NH, also a podcast and YouTube channel. So check that out for tasty food videos because I know there's some up there.
Yeah.
So appreciate the recommendation. And this is a perfect example of one that I would never have found or watched this if it weren't for this recommendation.
Right.
So yeah, really cool, fun with the brothers, creepy cult classic, good stuff. After the movie,
Yes.
I went to look up some things about it. 'Cause I'm
Right.
like, why is there so little about this movie?
Right.
And while he had mentioned it to me, because when I messaged him to be like, hey, am I watching the right movie? He mentioned it was the same director as Jeepers Creepers.
Right.
Victor Salva?
Yep. Salva. Victor Salva.
Okay. So now I know some stuff had gone down with him, some sort of sexual assault charge that I wasn't entirely privy to. I didn't really know a lot about
Yeah,
it.
I've always heard rumors from the director of Jeepers Creepers being a creeper.
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't know he was the same director as this movie.
Yeah.
Again, until after the fact when I specifically went to the IMDb trivia page.
Interesting.
Because I was just curious, like, why haven't I heard of this movie? What's the
Yeah.
story behind it? And it has a lot of interesting trivia, if you will.
Yeah. So the way I found that out is I went to Google to look, because whenever I see these older movies with like younger actors, I'm always curious about like what have they done since or whatever. You look up the youngest actor who's arguably the main character throughout this movie.
Nathan Forrest Winters.
Yeah, and what comes up is all of the history of the case of him being molested on set of this.
Yes.
Of this movie, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like,
Yeah, what's going on here?
yeah. So then you and I were talking about it earlier. There's a bunch of info on this. I don't know. Have at it.
So essentially, during the filming, he molested the 12-year-old boy at the time. And yeah, Nathan Forrest Winters. And so he was sentenced to, he admitted to it. The director, he admitted to it. And he later it was discovered that he also molested the other brother, not Sam Rockwell, but Brian McHugh.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, Brian's parents said, hey, don't get involved in that. Don't help out the case. We don't want you to be like whatever reason there was.
Just involved. And,
Yeah. But I mean,
sad.
luckily he admitted to being a sexual predator, being a creep, and so he got sentenced to jail for 3 years.
Which wasn't it based on like the lesser charges? Like he only was found guilty?
Apparently, yeah, 3 years seems very little for what he did.
Yeah.
And again, he admitted to doing it. So I don't know. I don't know specifically like what's the normal time you go to jail for that. But so he was sentenced to jail for 3 years, served 15 months. Came out of prison and made a ton of movies after that. I don't understand how he wasn't excommunicated from Hollywood. I mean, like he, because this was in 1988 when he got convicted. And the movie came out in 1989. And so the director of The Godfather was a big supporter of him before all the sexual stuff happened. And so he gave him a bunch of money to make the movie. He gave him his house to film the movie in.
Oh.
And then after he got convicted, he went and redubbed all that audio because it was messed up.
Wow.
So the director Francis Ford Coppola, I think is how you say his name. He is like a big reason why the movie exists at all because he went and finished it up. But again, at that point, he was very harsh on Nathan Forrest Winters. Again, the kid. He was very harsh on him and blacklisted him from the Hollywood life and said you'll never work in any movies again because I guess he just didn't like his performance. And when he was doing the redubbing, he did awful. Apparently, this I don't know. We weren't in the room, so
Sure,
we don't know. But yeah, so he has since not been in anything, and I don't blame him because
That's so sad, man.
I know that poor kid. Like he just seemed. Just to be in a horror movie is awesome, and to have all this terrible stuff happen to him.
Yeah.
To be like
What an awful experience.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy for him that he's not part of the Hollywood world anymore because they just seem so rough, so mean to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, the original director, Victor Salva, came back and did 1995. He made Nature of the Beast, and since then has done a bunch of movies up until I think his last movie was 2014.
Okay.
And it looks like he directed, Dark House.
Dark House.
And yeah, he did Jeepers Creepers. That's his claim to fame.
Yeah.
Those movies are, I would say, pretty, maybe not beloved, but people really enjoy those.
Yeah.
And so do I. But yeah, it just blows my mind that he wasn't just kicked out of Hollywood. He was able to come back, and he's worked with famous people.
Says something about, I mean, we've unfortunately learned a lot in recent, decades, I guess, or the last decade for sure, about just the terrible things that go on in the industry. And I mean, any industry really, but the things that people have gotten away with, and it's just like, it's sad. I mean, it says something about the industry if he were to able to just like, he was able to just bounce back from that.
Yep.
And then I think continue, because I think what I'm aware of is like him being pretty recently accused again. And
Of something else?
I think, but
I
I
didn't
could be
look
making
that.
that up. Maybe
Yeah.
it's about the original. Maybe the original conviction got stirred up again
Yeah.
in all of like recent movements and conversations.
Yeah, because unless you look it up, you don't know about it.
No, not at all.
You know?
And I'm really hoping I'm not ruining a favorite movie for
Other people.
our buddy the Grizz who recommended this. I just found it interesting because it was a crazy experience to watch the movie and be
Yeah.
like, whoa, this is a wild ride. And then you look it up, and this is all the info that comes up around
this
it.
movie.
So,
And so, because of all that controversy,
Mm-hmm.
this movie, as of 2003, has not been re-released anywhere. Not
Wow.
on DVD, not on VHS,
Yeah.
not on streaming.
Yeah.
It is just such a stain on the whatever company, MGM.
wow.
MGM did it. So there are DVDs out there. They're really hard to come by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because it was such a limited run, and they recalled a bunch of them. So, this is one that you can find online, but there's no digital
Official.
right? No official or digital re-release or anything like that.
It's another one. Wow. Hey.
It's another one.
Hey, welcome to the Keep Up
Hey.
Podcast. It's another one of those unfortunate situations where it's like, do you let the actions of the creator impact your appreciation of the art? And it's like, it's sad. It's sad for anyone who was in it, involved in it, for that one person to do something so terrible and like impact the view of that.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's a crazy story, all mixed up with this random clown movie.
right.
So yeah, I'm curious how everyone's doing today as far as Nathan and Brian.
Like, oh yeah. Well,
as far as
a lot of the quotes that I saw were from Nathan, like having come out and like explain more of like what his situation was. Which
good.
I'm glad there's a platform for people to speak on that stuff. It's just, it's so sad that like someone's childhood would be impacted by something like that.
he was 12 years old. That's like, it's awful. Yeah. You know, and like any film career he had was gone, like just because some guy was a creep.
Now, who blacklisted him? Was it the director or was it Francis Ford Coppola?
Coppola.
That's annoying.
Yeah. Which I don't understand what a blacklisting someone does as far as like, you know, like, does he just go tell all of his friends, hey,
Like, how does that work?
Right.
Yeah. Don't work with this 12-year-old.
Yeah. Like, don't hire this kid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either,
don't know.
man.
But
That power dynamic is so frustrating.
Yeah. He seemed like a jerk.
Yeah.
From what I've read, anyways,
yeah.
he seemed pretty awful. So
Not cool, man.
enough to like, you know, yell at this kid who has been, you know, molested, and he was able to.
Right. Like, how do you take that angle?
Yeah. Now, I don't know the timeline exactly, so it could have been before it came to light.
Sure.
But obviously, why would he work on the audio if the original director wasn't already in jail?
Right.
You know,
that
like,
tracks.
because he's not credited anywhere.
Right.
So I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What a strange history around this movie.
Yeah, it's one I didn't expect from it.
Yeah.
I finished the movie and I almost didn't look anything up. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting to know.
Clown House.
Clown House.
So that's Clown House. You can find it. It's hard to find, but you can find it.
You can find it.
Running the Pass NH. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah.
I think that's our last movie.
That is
That brings us,
2.
strangely enough or not, to music and podcasts.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
What are you listening to?
This is cool. I don't know if in the past have we gone into music and podcasts on an October special.
I don't think so.
It's been at least a year since the last one, so who knows?
Yeah,
But
who knows? It's been a while.
we have a couple recommendations in this one, which were fun. So our first one comes from Uncle Mike's Pop Culture Market. Is that all the words?
Yeah. No.
Nailed it.
I was gonna say. I thought you had it.
At Uncle Mike's Pop Culture Market.
On
I don't
Instagram.
I don't like to misrepresent.
No, you gotta be. You gotta be bold.
You gotta be bad. You gotta be stronger. You gotta be. Oh wait, stronger is the second.
You gotta be stronger.
Stronger. Stronger.
Nice.
Stronger. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, with the tongue and everything.
Well, yeah, that's.
Stronger.
See, it helps. You nailed it.
It does.
Perfect pitch over there.
You know.
The last podcast on the left.
On the left.
Now, I got to say, Mike always comes through with the dope recommendations.
Yep.
There was I wanted to go through his whole list, especially Hack and Slash. I have a whole volume of that sitting at home. I didn't get to read.
You got that for Christmas one year.
I think it was like 2 years ago.
Dude,
I
come
have
on.
that. I have Nailbiter. I have Monstrous. I have a ton of
Come on, get
dope
reading.
comics I need to catch up on. Not to mention, dude, I'm probably 85 issues back on Turtles right now.
Oh, my God.
Relax, dude. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
But I really wanted to do the podcast because we haven't reviewed a podcast or responded or covered or talked about a podcast in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you listen to it?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of or listened to this podcast before?
Never heard of it.
I've listened to it before. So I picked an episode. I think it was the most recent one, 509, which was a creepypasta episode.
Yeah.
What was your experience with the last podcast on the left?
I wasn't the biggest fan.
Interesting.
I felt like I guess the hard thing about it is I don't have the connection with these guys.
Sure, yeah.
As other podcasts. But I mean that's the thing with podcasts is you jump into an episode and you learn about who they are and what they do and stuff. But yeah, I felt like for the most part, I wanted to hear the creepypastas.
Yeah.
And they were doing like a mystery science theater angle.
Totally.
Where they kept like making jokes about the story, but I felt like it kept interrupting the story.
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
the stories told. But
That's fair.
yeah, I found it. I feel like I just need more time to get used to the guys, used to the all the people in it, all the people involved. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It just didn't really like resonate with me.
It's definitely one where, so I found it because I was looking for, one of my favorite podcasts is Spooked, and I was looking for things similar to that because I had caught up on all the episodes. And I found Last Podcast on the Left because if you search up like horror podcasts or something like that, that comes up. And it doesn't, it could, but it doesn't necessarily fulfill the desire for like, there's that Serial Killers podcast, which is just a straight true crime podcast. There's Spooked, which is people sharing their like paranormal experiences, things like that. This is three dudes hanging out, talking about what I really like about it is it covers anything like they talk about like cults past and true crime stories. They do creepypasta episodes where they specifically pull creepypastas from the internet. And so I like that because it covers a wide variety of like scary stories kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it is more of like, it's similar to our podcast where it's like talking, joking, that kind of thing. So
It felt more like a radio show to me.
it does have that vibe to it a little bit.
And maybe it's
yeah.
just their sound quality. Not to speak like poorly of the podcast. It's like well
Produced.
formatted and produced.
Yeah.
And, like you can tell it's a good podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of picky when it comes to podcasts.
Yeah, sure.
I don't listen to them as much as I used to. Because when I was doing the chips, I used to have like hours to kill. So
yeah.
I would listen, but I just haven't.
I just love the vagueness of the phrase "doing the chips."
I was just doing the chips, man.
Tim used to make chips for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of podcast listening time there.
Yes.
So I do think I could tell because I 100% agree. Like, if you listen to a podcast that says, I mean, this was their past 500 episodes.
Yeah.
So like, obviously they have, and they're a pretty big podcast. Like they have an audience that understands them as individuals, and like we're just starting to listen to them. So
Right.
I could tell it's one of those podcasts. It's like, oh, once you get to know the personalities, and then you'll know when you're in the mood for this podcast or whatever. But I do like the aspect that they cover all those different types of stories, because I know this is the only episode you've heard, right?
Yeah.
When I listened before, they were talking about the history of this cult and like they kind of break down the history of it, the stories, and it is more of true crime, but it's just told like these guys hanging out talking, and there's definitely like a mystery science theater
For
element,
sure.
which I thought there were moments that like I thought were super funny.
Yeah,
with
there
the,
are funny
creepypastas.
moments, for sure.
But I definitely hear what you're saying too, where you're like, I want to hear the story. Some of the stories, dude. Did you get through all of it?
I didn't get to finish it in time.
Yeah,
but-
I didn't finish the episode fully, but where I'm at now, I think I'm near the end, and one of the stories they read makes no sense, and them reacting.
the first story didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. That one was so funny. So, if you're, I think the main thing is like it's a different thing than sitting down and listening to like a true crime story.
Yes.
It's
And I think that's what I went in expecting, like
Sure.
more of them just to read the creepypastas and then talk about it after.
Yep.
So it still works for sure.
yeah, but it is more of like a hangout podcast
Yes.
vibe. I've had a few. I always have like one podcast like that I go to where I like feel like hanging out with those hosts, you know?
Yeah.
It used to be iFanboy, the comic book podcast.
What was the other one you used to listen to a lot? Maybe still. Oh, Bad Christian.
Bad Christian,
Yeah.
yep, same thing, yep. And that's one, like, I used to be caught up, and I haven't listened in, like, it's probably been a year. Wow. And I think they put out, like, 3 a week, so I don't
Oh
even
my
know
God, you'll never catch up.
how far back I am
Yeah,
on
I
that.
used to do that all the time with the Rooster Teeth podcast.
Yeah.
I used to just listen to it every week. And same thing, haven't listened in like a year.
Yeah.
Pandemic ruined us, Brett.
I know. You'd think we would have listened to a million podcasts.
Right? We had all the
I
time.
just played video games the whole time.
Speaking of, how's your vacation been, by the way?
Oh, it's been great.
Yeah. Have you been like, have you caught up on everything that you wanted to?
You know, it's gone a little bit different than I thought it was going to because when I originally took this time off, I was like, it has bought me time to watch and listen to and play a bunch of stuff that we'll undoubtedly talk about next week. But there's been a lot of like work involved too. Like I've caught up on, the kind of work I want to do.
Right.
Caught up on editing stuff for us. And I've recorded 5 new songs that I'm just waiting for the production to be done on now. Stuff that and 2 of those songs took a day and a half. Like on Tuesday or on Monday, I literally worked on them from like 10 a.m. till I think 4.
Wow.
It was like all day. And then I had to go back the next day and like full on recording sessions. So, and then, I met up with, Trevor. I met up with my friend Trevor yesterday to talk about some video ideas. So it's been pretty like full and active. But then I have been able to, like, the new Guillermo del Toro show just came out.
Oh, yeah.
I was able to just watch the first 2 episodes as soon as it
they're
came out.
releasing those weekly, the episodes?
So I thought it was weekly. It's daily for 4 days in a row.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know why.
So it's already done almost.
It's probably out.
That's a weird thing to
Isn't
do.
that strange?
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is ratings wise. Because, like, if you just put it all out, maybe people are going to binge it in one day.
Yeah.
But if you put out 2 a day, maybe it spans the viewership. I don't know. But I can't think of a reason. Because the new Unsolved Mysteries just came out and they're doing an episode, I think, a week.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That feels
makes
like
more sense.
Yeah, it feels like throwback TV where it's like you got to wait till the next week. But this is literally 2 came out, I think, Tuesday.
Yeah.
2 yesterday.
To today.
And 2 tomorrow, and that's it. It's 8 episodes.
Jeez.
Really weird.
Yeah.
It's amazing, but we'll talk about it next week. So yeah, it's been good.
Good.
And today I was like, oh, it's already Thursday, but I don't go back till Wednesday next week. So I was like, I still have like
yeah.
6 days. Party, dude.
Dude, party.
Beat Gordon this morning.
Go.
Come on, man. But
got
this
nothing
episode's not about us, Tim.
Right, it's not. I'm sorry. I was curious.
Thanks for asking, bro. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. The last thing.
Yes, about the last podcast.
Oh, no, we actually probably should have saved that for last. So I could have been like, the last thing to talk about is
Yeah.
the last podcast on the left.
I see, but we're going to the last thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which is a recommendation from Luke,
Yes.
the band Ghost.
Ghost.
Interesting thing about Ghost. I mean,
Is it interesting?
there's a lot of interesting things about Ghost. So I guess my history with the band Ghost is they're one of those bands that they're huge, Grammy award winning, huge in the metal community.
You know what's funny? I've never heard of them before.
So that's wild. I was going to ask. It depends what circles you swing in, but like that. Is it weird to say swinging? I don't mean like like a swinger. That came out
dude,
weird.
I'm just swinging to different types of music.
I just meant like, run in. I guess
Yeah.
that's what people say, the circles you run in.
yeah.
I just don't want to give off the wrong impression here. So I see, you've never seen Ghost shirts? I feel like their merch is everywhere.
They really do not ring a bell at all.
So,
I also didn't know they were Swedish.
yes, they are Swedish.
I'm going to look up Ghost shirts.
So what's wild about Ghost is they're one of those bands that has done a thing that I love is they're unbelievably theatrical, and the costumes, the makeup.
Don't look up Ghost shirts on Google.
Is it just sheet ghosts?
You
What the
just
heck
get
is that? What am I looking at?
You just get a
Actually, that first one is a ghost shirt.
Yeah, well, the other ones are, but you
not
get
that one.
you get a naked woman.
Yeah.
What's the point of that shirt? Just don't wear anything.
I don't understand. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, no boobas
Ghost
right now.
shirts. Plus, that's what that's called, a ghost shirt.
It's $400.
Holy bananas!
It's a rue orange nylon tank top.
ghost shirt.
Ghost shirt. Like what the?
Well, that wasn't the recommendation, Tim.
But she just has nipples.
I have nipples, Tim. Can you milk me?
Not $400 nipples. Yeah, I don't recognize these shirts. Look cool though.
They are cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Anyway, sorry, got distracted by boobas.
No, it's all good. As one does. So Ghost is one of these bands that like they are very clearly metal influenced. But nowadays when a band comes out and I start to see a bunch of people who are into like metal and hardcore or any kind of like music subgenre, where the merch of a band, I imagined they were going to be like super, super heavy.
Yes.
And the first time I listened to them, they are heavy, but they're like 70s Black Sabbath heavy. They're not like, I'm trying to think. They're not like, I don't know who this is for. They're not like Cattle Decapitation or Cannibal Corpse heavy.
Dude, of course. My favorite.
I think I've had you listen to Cattle Decapitation before, actually.
Yes, you have, actually.
And you liked it.
Yes,
you
I
loved
did.
the guitar work, actually. All right, cool.
Yeah, it was like Doom, if I recall. Maybe. Or was that a different band?
I think that was a different band.
Okay.
I mean, they have some like... No, Doom is more like...
Intense.
I don't know. Cattle Decapitation is pretty intense. It's more like...
I got to listen to it again.
That's not what Luke recommended.
I know. Shut up.
Anyways, they're different kind of heavy. The vocals are different. There's no like screaming, you know? So when I first listened to them, I was like, oh, this isn't a sound I'm like really into. I went and listened to them today, actually, because of Luke's recommendation.
Right.
First of all, he recommended them because he said they're very Halloween-y.
Yes.
This is 100% accurate. I don't know how this band just sounds entirely spooky, but they do.
Yes.
Like the Misfits are a band that's like known to be spooky, and their aesthetic is, and some of their music is, but overall, like there are a lot of times where they just sound like a punk band to me. With some exceptions, but like Ghost sounds like Halloween.
Yeah, they sound like spiritual. Is at least one of the songs I heard. What is it? I Believe. I think it was called.
I think that's what you said it was called. I didn't actually listen to that one.
Yeah, because I was weird and just picked random songs.
I told you to go to Spotify and just listen to their
I
top
did, but
stuff.
it didn't work. So I was like, okay,
Why
I
didn't
gotta
it
go.
work, dude?
I don't know.
How old are you?
7.
Oh, what was that?
My computer went doo doo doo.
Why did it do that?
Because I think I edited something by accident. Yeah, so I listened to the song I Believe, and yeah, it sounded very like spiritual. It was like mystical, and I feel like I was getting like my palm read.
Yeah, right. Honestly, that's a good explanation. And their whole image, their whole thing is like the opposite of the Catholic Church. Like the vocalist wears like a pope hat.
Yeah,
and I forget what he's called, but he has
I'm gonna
like a stage
say
name.
the Priesticles.
I think that's almost definitely what it is.
What?
I feel like it's like Papa Victus or something.
Papa Nihili.
Seriously?
Yeah. Papa Nihil.
It's probably Nile.
Nile. Ghost of the Nile.
Nameless ghoul. Yeah, they just have like the craziest.
They just got
like,
ghosts.
Cool aesthetic. And so yeah, I was listening to it this morning, and I was like, okay, this is actually awesome. I get it. It's this like 70s spooky metal vibe. It's like what was creepy about Black Sabbath. That's like the best.
But they're
comparison
modern
I can
day.
think of. Yeah. And so I mean, the coolest thing about listening to it this morning, I was like, oh, I could get their merch now. I'm kind of into them.
Now I know. You don't want to be a poser.
Right, exactly. It's very important. So what did you think of it?
I thought it was good. It didn't like resonate with me as far as I need to listen to more.
Yeah.
I want to see, because it seems like I don't even know what album the Believe one was from.
Yeah, I didn't come across that one.
Yeah, so that was just on YouTube, and I typed them in, and I listened to one other, something macabre.
Dance Macabre?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Dance Macabre.
What's wrong with your
Spotify? I don't know. It doesn't work.
Oh, dude, it's working.
I don't pay for Spotify Premium, so.
It's working. Oh, you don't?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's my problem. Yeah.
Didn't I give you access to my Spotify?
Maybe. I didn't do it.
Ridiculous. But yeah, they're super massive, and a lot of the things that you read about them is how good their live show is, and just listening to it, you can hear how theatrical and over the top it probably is live. So I would definitely love to see that. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It took me a couple songs to get into it, but I had to like recalibrate what I expected from them.
Yeah.
I think when I saw their aesthetic and everything, I was expecting them to be like I don't know, like a speed metal thrash band or something like that, and they're just not that.
Yeah.
But they, I don't know, they're cool.
They're cool.
You know, if you're into like 70s metal, I feel like you'll dig it.
Yeah.
They're super catchy too. Like there, a few of their songs, I was like, man, this is stuck in my head already.
Yeah, I'm gonna revisit them, and
You don't have to, Tim.
Well, I wanna.
You don't have to.
I want to give them a fair shake.
You don't have to.
Okay. Maybe I didn't hear the right songs. I was thrown off by your Spotify. Like, oh, listen to their top music. I don't pay for Spotify, so
You could have responded to me, and we could have continued that conversation.
We could have, but that's too easy.
That's fair.
I had to make it hard.
Yeah, that's fair. Listen, I think that does it for the special.
That's it.
I think that's it.
We listened and did everything.
We listened and did everything and watched and did this stuff.
Wow.
I know.
No video game recommendations.
None. Although we've played many.
We have played many.
It's probably good we didn't get any because we barely took care of all the
Dude, we had
recommendations.
plenty of time.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Did we?
Not me, but
No, you didn't. So thank you to everyone who sent over recommendations. We have them logged. Any of the ones that we didn't cover, we've got them all in our notes. Again, like Tim mentioned, you guys can recommend anything, anytime, anywhere. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can find Tim everywhere, Collection Revolution, on twitch.tv/Collection Revolution, on Instagram and TikTok as Collection Revolution. What's your Twitter handle?
Collection Revo.
Do you use it?
Yeah.
You can find Tim on Twitter at Collection Revo. You can find me at ATA Raps on Instagram. You can find my music under Animatronic The Abolisher pretty much all over the place.
Everywhere.
And if you like spooky games and other such creep-tastic things, you can find me at Brett in the Dark, either on Twitch or Instagram. YouTube too, but I haven't posted a video in a while.
Hey.
Anyways, that's a lot of places to find us. You guys are the coolest. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't, feel free to leave a review. Tim, I don't think you do
No.
and Babble
Or
on a special.
the music of the Blue Hedgehog variety.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Specials, we don't do it.
We do not do that.
So, I'll send you off with the words of the ancients.
Yes.
You are believed if you're not belief. So thanks. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Couldn't have said it better, Tim. Enjoy your Halloween if Halloween is a thing you do.
Happy Halloboonies.
If it's not a thing you do, just enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back next week. I guess that's it.
That's it.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Say bye again.
Bye.
No, you. I want you to.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.